Did you see what happened with Gets? I don't know if you like keep up with it, but I don't know if you know who Gets is. Like if you listen to UK rap, like the UK music scene, like he's a really well respected like OG, right? He's a really grime artist. Yeah, that's it, bro. I was so pissed off when I saw that the other day, man. Can you imagine? What a loser. Going, it was like, I think it was like 70, 80, or some places were saying 90, but basically going national speed limit in a residential, right? In a residential, you're between 20 to 30 miles an hour, right? But I was going double that. Um, hits a kid, right? Hits a kid, doesn't stop, does not stop whatsoever, just drives off, and then the someone made a video because they went attended the court case yesterday, yeah. What he did after he got back to his crib, he parked away from his crib. So there's clearly intent to try and actually hide what he did, right? So the parked the whip away. It was a no comment like interrogation. What a fucking scumbag, bro. Honestly, it's so peak, man. So peak. Damang lad as well. So literally like my blood. So peak. I was so mad when I saw that, man. How can you, at your big age of 41, how you doing that? And you're thinking you're above everything as well. Like there's no remorse, there's no nothing. So peak, man. Yeah, absolutely. And there's people still defending him as well, bro. It's like, don't know what to call it. The when it comes to celebrities and like well-known figures, bro, people just lose their heads. It's like so tribal. Like people are defending him, like, oh, like why are you trying to bring one of our own down? It's like, it doesn't matter if you fuck with his music. Does not matter what race you are, right? You should be able to look at someone. If I'm brown and I see someone brown do something wrong, I'm not going to defend them because they're brown. Do you get what I'm trying to say? If they're a shitbag, they're a shitbag. Doesn't matter what color you are. But it's so peak, man. The level of tribalism that's being displayed around this right now. Yeah, I saw GoFundMe come up, but I've not donated yet because it's not open officially by his family, from someone else. So until the family confirms that's for them, I'm not gonna donate. But if they do, I'm gonna donate because they're trying to get his body back to Nepal for cremations and stuff. But yeah, so peak, man. 20 years old, only child. Can you imagine? Like you, the parents, like they try their hardest, like scrounge up money to send their son abroad to study so that the son can look after them in the future and stuff, and then just some absolute shitbag wipes him out on a drunken car ride. Drunk and high, can I say? They were both weed and alcohol present in the system. Yeah, man, peak. This is a UK rapper, bro. His name's Gets Jasper, and then the guy licked down on the side of the road. It was a Nepalese student in London in Yubin Damang. Yeah, so peak. Is that just the intent alone should make that cunt in life, bro? Honestly, like it's gonna be death by driving, but I swear to God, if they're given a plea deal or something like this, it's gonna be bring back capital punishment. I say, because you hit the kid fair, right? You fucked up big time. But if you'd stopped, if you hadn't drove off like a cunt, you hadn't tried to hide things, and you could have called ambulance, you could have done anything, showed any sort of remorse. Like you fucked up major, but you clearly didn't mean to do it, right? And you're accounting for it. You've understood. You've taken a human life. You're not just gonna sweep it under the rug. But doing all of that back to back, absolute scumbag, bro. Honestly. But yeah, just wanted to see if you like heard about it, bro, because it was so peak, man. But yeah, anyway. Right, enough about that. Let's I wanted to address as well. I know many of you are asking for the scalping side of things, right? So when we do the consolidation session next, we can do like a like a scalp breakdown. I know Batman really wanted it. I know Jasper wants it. I know Wizard was asking for that as well. We can do like a scalp breakdown. I do not have a scalping account right now, so all of you guys know I have a swing, a scalp to swing, and a scalp. Like I've said, I've not scalped recently, right? But my scalping account's not. I've not been scalping. I don't have a scalp account. But what we can do is I'll just open up a chart, and if I see something in a place where I would scalp it, then I can go over it, right? Um, and I can break down any questions you guys have as I'm talking about it. We can break down so on and so forth. And if there's nothing live, then I can go back to, like, sessions we've done in the past and why I took a particular trade back then, like the way I did, so on and so forth, right? Using everything we learned in advanced and core, so on and so forth. Yeah. But yeah, this Saturday we'll get core done, and then we'll plan the advanced either for Sunday if majority of you are free. If not, we'll get it done sometime next week. Like, no problem whatsoever. We'll get it done very soon. Um, But yeah, like I was saying, so come next year, I will be pivoting back to scalping more regularly as well, because I do think that, especially after quarter two latest, in my opinion, we'll probably be back in a bear, right? And in a bear, I'll be holding my swing shorts, but in a bear, I'm not, because in a bull market right now, I can buy spot and hold, right? I don't need to do much. I can have low leverage swings and get into them. Obviously, discounting the October 10th absolute free crash that we had. But in a bear market, obviously you're not going to buy and hold spot until you think you've hit levels where you think, okay, this is very, very, like, deep. I'm going to be buying this for the long term. So I'm going to be pivoting, and hopefully by that time, the second restaurant will be up and running. I won't, obviously I won't be refurbishing every day, so on and so forth. So I'll have more free time on my hands. So I'll be scalping more again. Thoughts on Asta? Yeah, we can take a look at that, bro. We can take a look at that. Let me share my screen, and we can get started from there. So here, and let me know if you guys can see that, and I'll get started. Nice. Okay. So, first things first, right? Before we get started, Tau. I really want to go over Tau, because I feel like we pivoted into this. Especially, we were already in Tau, from the lows, right? These are one of the plays we went over many times in stream, like, since the start of this year, so on and so forth. But especially for even the people who recently joined, this is the last couple of streams I've been saying Tau is one of the ones I've, cut the ones that look weak, cut the ones that broke structure, and just get into something that held. Tau was one of them, right? The other one was, of course, LTC against Bitcoin, so on and so forth. Zen is something we're looking at as well. But Tau, insane strength on this one. In fact, I've got another one of this here somewhere. There we go. Right, this looks absolutely beautiful. What we did today, in fact, a couple hours earlier, is very, very bullish. This right here, you guys know what this is. Go to the yearly. This is the low of the area where in 2024 sellers were in control, right? So we have gone, and for now on the hourly, obviously this is not a high enough time frame to with chest say yes, we're definitely above, like we're not going to go back down. But on the lower time frame, right, on the hourly, so on and so forth, we have successfully broken into and reclaimed, right? There's your breakout, there's your retest, the 2024 12-month seller zone low, right? So should this now hold and not give us a break back down, right? Like, should the daily close above, we get a successful daily retest at some point, so on and so forth. We are looking at, firstly, 524, like we talked about, right? That's the harmonic, 524, 609, 777. It's very, very simple, right? 609.77, especially if we're talking about the yearly range, right? That is the whole range that is open to us above this level. So what I'm saying is, you can see how much of an asymmetrical bet you have above 440.95. Now, you guys should be in from down here anyway, right? But even if it didn't enter, even over, just if you take 440.95 as your line in the sand and use that to manage your risks around, right? You can see how much of an asymmetrical bet you have. You start losing 440.95, you cut. But if you're right and you manage to stay above, you can build structure above, right? Liquidity rates are exactly that. Liquidity rates below that get bought up instantly above 440.95. Then you're talking this range right over here. So when I say asymmetrical bet, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying buy right now, but I'm saying to invalidation from where we currently are is a 4.23% drop, right? Versus from where we currently are, or rather, here's where we currently are, right? It's 2.76% drop. From where we currently are, should we actually hold above 440.95, eventually we are talking about a 71% potential move up, right? And should you get above this, is going to be price discovery for Tau. I do think we see 4 digits Tau. Just going off the strength we're seeing, right? Going off the fact this is going to be one of your top picks for AI, going to be one of your top picks for DeFi, anything you're thinking about, right? I do see Tau going to 4 digits. Now, is this a guarantee? Of course not, right? There's no guarantees in crypto, but what there is a guarantee of is right now, especially if you're looking at something like the hourly, right? There is a very asymmetrical bet that one can take on Tau, right? You could put everything you have. I'm not saying do this, but you could put everything you have in spot. You could put 100k into Tau right over here, and you know your invalidation is 2.76% away, versus you have a chance to get to even 524. That's a 15% move up, right? So Tau, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to shield the fact that I think Tau definitely goes to 4 digits. What I'm trying to say is this should definitely be, especially above 440.95, right? This should definitely be a coin you guys are looking at, not just for higher time frame, but now going back to lower time frame, you'll be able to get some beautiful scalps off this, right? I was looking at this when it was happening. Like I said, I'm not scalping right now, right? But if I was, this is genuinely something you can scalp very, very easily. Anytime you have on a lower time frame, whether you're looking at tick-based charts, right? If I quickly switch to tick-based, I know probably no one here actually looks at tick-based charts, but whether you're looking at tick-based charts or you're looking at we'll get to 100. Whether you're looking at tick-based charts or you're looking at just time-based charts, right? You have your significant level, right? That's obviously before you even think about getting into a trade. It doesn't matter if it's the higher time frame or the lower time frame. You have your significant level, and once you have confirmation around that significant level, a particular side showing strength, you get into that side. As soon as we broke above and we kept refusing to get below, there's many opportunities for low time frame scalps here on Tau, right? So this is an insanely strong looking chart right now, right? We had this consolidation pattern we were looking at for a while, right? There's the two diagonals. You were within this sort of pennant. You've broken out to the upside. Maybe we get a retest, right? Typically things like these do end up retesting, but that's if we lose 440.95. If Tau does not lose 440.95, then we are not going to be getting that retest, right? So here's your first line in the sand. Below 440.95 is very simple. I'd be looking for the retest of this, and then you could try and get a bet in going there and look for structure before this reclaims and ultimately goes up. But otherwise, as long as you're above 440.95, you've got 524, you've got 609, you've got 777.26, right? So Tau looks very strong. Your sub, so welcome, bro. I didn't see your icon in the chat, so I can DM you about that, bro. Yeah, I've got a few people that wanting to do Elliott Waves and Wyckoff too. So yeah, if you guys want it, I can do that in group session in the future. Okay, so that's Tau. The other one I wanted to talk about is, of course, Zcash. The chart for this is ridiculous. This one. Big spot holdings for me, these, right? Zcash, if you've known me for a couple years, you probably will be in this play with me. If you don't, you probably won't be in this play, okay? The original entry I gave for this was like, I've been talking about this since like 2023, 2024, right? So I've been in this for a while in spot. But this is what I mean. This is why you love trading, right? Because look, this thing has just wiped out. If you look at the yearly, it's ridiculous, right? Take a look, or you'd rather look at it on the monthly, for example, right? You have months of people shitting on this, right? The amount of clowning that was going on for Zcash, dead. No one's talking about it. Hardly anyone's talking about it, rather, right? And then boom, look, 2 months. 2 months is all it took for you to get a 10x in 2 months, right? You've now taken out these highs right over here, look. Absolutely insane. Have we taken it out? Or yeah, you have. That's it. That's taken it out. It's subtle, but it's there, right? Oh no, you haven't. Hang on, no, you haven't. You've left it behind. But that's on Poloniex. On normal charts, you might have taken it out already. Yeah, see, on normal charts, you've taken it out. Poloniex is just a shit exchange, right? But insane, right? Absolutely insane. I know a few people are in here. I know Liquidity Cat is. I know Sarah is. I know. There was someone else. I forgot who it was. I know there's a few people in Zcash, right? So this is why if anyone doesn't see the power of just holding spot or even low leverage, right? You could have held everything you had in Zcash, right? For example, from these lows, right? And that 10x, anyone who got that 10x with size probably outperformed majority of CT, just off one trade, right? And so the reason I give you guys, especially over the last year, right? The reason I've been so focused on higher time frame plays and not lower time frame. The reason I've been focused on higher time frame is because now that this is here, do you think I'm going to give you spot plays? No, right? Now it makes sense. Go get that lower time frame breakup structure. Go get that lower time frame price action read around significant levels and see, can I scalp a short? Can I take a long? So on and so forth, right? You see SFPs like this, for example, on the 1 hour on Zcash at your yearly highs. That's an easy short to take, right? But when you add these lows, which we have been for so long, right? When you add areas like this, it does not make sense to prioritize the lower time frame over the higher time frame, right? Which is why, you know, some people ask me on Twitter, on YouTube comments, like, why have we not got so much scalping content recently? Is because I've been very vocal about this for like a year now, probably more than a year. We have been at areas where scalping is not what would have made you majority of the money. Right, the people who would have outperformed by scalping rather than just holding is literally at the 99th percentile, right? People who are good at what they do, some of the best in the world at what they do, yes, they would probably outperform, right? Because obviously you've got more trades going, right? But 99.9% of people are not outperforming a simple 10x hold. Simple 10x hold, literally easy to invalidate, right? And this is the reason why I give higher time frame plays on many alts right now, because Zcash, before this move happened 2 months ago, did anyone think it was going to happen? No. But did it happen? Yes. Same with XRP, right? Same with XLM. So many of these plays have given, and people, you know, you're holding in the red. Maybe you're in the red for half a year. Maybe you're not by much. We still got a risk management parameters, but maybe you're in the red for like half a year even. Maybe you're holding for 6-7 months, right? But I gotta ask yourself truthfully, have you 10x your portfolio in the last 7 months? If you hadn't, you could have bought this 2 months ago and outperformed, right? So this is why, for many alts, I'm still prioritizing the higher time frame, because yes, like I've already been vocal, I think BTC is very, very close to a top. Right? I'm hoping it gets one more push up to 130s. If it doesn't, we've already hit our blow off top area anyway. So BTC is very, very close to a top in my opinion. Right? Which is why I'm not giving any spot plays on BTCs. I'll trade it lower time frame if I'll trade a lower time frame. Once I think like the top is in, I'll try to look for that lower time frame shifter structure and get swing shorts going, so on and so forth, right? Otherwise, if you get a really nice dump, I'll open up some leverage longs on it real quick. But I'm not going to be buying spot Bitcoin up here, right? It's not going to happen. Ethereum, I gave Ethereum for that exact same reason again, low leverage swings or spot, right? Back in April for that very reason, right? Because Ethereum was bottomed out, right? Now, again, I'm not going to give spot bids on Ethereum when it's near all-time highs, right? Some people might still enter because they think there's a long way to go. But for our entries, which is literally like 1,500, 1,400s, right? That's our entry that we caught in the server. There's nothing to be, we're literally just holding, right? Just holding ETH, that's it. But these ones that have already moved, those are the ones I'm now going to be prioritizing lower time frame trading, right? Things that are still bottomed out, I'm just going to buy and hold. And many alts are still in this scenario, right, where they're bottomed out. And the asymmetrical bet is going to be much more favorable for majority of the people on the higher time frame than it is on the lower time frame, right? So when it comes to scalping, one thing people make the mistake of doing is this is both higher time frame and lower time frame, right? People make the mistake of being in like 50 different positions, right? Forget higher time frame, right? People do this on the higher time frame as well, hold like 50 different spot coins. I never recommend doing that, right? 8 to 10 is probably the sweet spot. But even on the lower time frame, people try to open up like, 50, 60, 70 different like lower time frame scalp plays, right? If you're scalping, I've said this 2 years ago, I said this 3 years ago, I said this 4 years ago, right? I'm saying this today. I said this the same thing a year ago. You could make a very good living scalping literally just Bitcoin. You do not need to scalp a million different assets, right? You don't need to do it. You could make a living literally just scalping Bitcoin, right? For scalping, you want to be really familiar with the asset you're trading in terms of get a feel for it, right? You could, you can retire yourself scalping just one asset. You could scalp literally just gold. You could scalp literally just the Nasdaq. You could scalp literally just a currency pair, right? The dollar against the euro or something like this. You could scalp literally just Bitcoin. As long as you have a system in place, right? As long as you have a system in place, that's the important thing. You do not need to be in a million different positions when you're scalping. You don't need to be looking at a million different asset classes, million different tickers when you're scalping. You just need to focus your attention on one. Think about it. On the lower time frame, we're trying to trade volatility, we're trying to trade momentum, we're trying to trade frequency, right? Being in a million trades, million different asset classes, literally taking away from all of those prerequisites, right? For what a proper scalp should try to capture. So you could make a very good living literally just trading Bitcoin or trading just ETH, so on and so forth if you're scalping, right? You do not need to be looking at a million different tickers. But we'll go deep into all of that, and of course any questions you guys have, examples, so on and so forth. When we do the consolidation session, and even when we're not in the consolidation session, right? Obviously you guys are in this server for life, right? Unless you leave yourself, you're here. So whenever I scalp, we can go over it. I can give examples, so on and so forth. So you have a lot of time to still learn that, right? So don't worry about that. But Zcash, insane move, right? That's what I want to highlight. Same with Tau. I think Tau will do something very, very similar. HBAR's go in. Zen, hopefully, will follow. Because we're looking at Zen as well. Hopefully Zen will also follow at some point. But a lot of these higher time frame plays, LTC, right? LTC looks so good. Let me delete this. That is a very, very old chart. Where's the new chart for LTC gone? I had a way clearer chart for this. Let me just try to find it. One sec. If not, we can just... Is this it? This looks like a... Yeah, there we go. This is what we're looking at, right? LTC. Look at this. This is the same sort of TA I was given on... Let me pull some up, right? First of all, XRP. Because some of you weren't here in the server when I called XRP, right? Or I've been calling XRP for years, but the last call I gave literally 54 to 56 cents. Literally the day before it went on that massive run. So this needs to be on focus. I want you guys to compare, right? I'll give an example with a play that's already worked out, and you can try and overlay it to this one. So if you go to XRP over here, take a look. This, let me take a look here. What do we have? 618. Let me just leave that here. 1 second. There we go. Okay. If you take a look at XRP from a technical standpoint, right? Let's take a look at what it was doing. Let me turn this off once, right? We'll take a look at this to the left. So what did XRP have? Okay, well, we take a look at this, right? Price action, that's relevant, because if you go on log, that is extremely relevant. But on linear, it's not relevant, right? Because of the percentage gains we've had ever since those lows came in. Hey Tip, how you doing, bro? Nice to see you in here, man. So we had this, right? So take a look at the price action, right? Okay, we've had one move up, one move down. There's your first bull market done, right? Second bull market done. And this is obviously the third bull market we've had properly in this asset class since those 2017 lows. But what I want you to notice is ignore all of this. Ignore all of this. Ignore all of this, right? You've got to know what you're looking for when you're looking for price action. Firstly, what is my bias here? My bias is I want higher time frame. Top-down analysis, always I'm looking at higher time frame first. So if we are doing that, what is the higher time frame telling me? The higher time frame telling me, yeah, this asset's gone up and it's been down. It's been up and it's been down. But the important thing is, any time it's been down less and less and less over time, right? What you will see is the 2017 low was lower than the 2020 low, which in turn was lower than the December 2020 low, which in turn was lower than the 2022 low, which in turn was lower than the 2024 low, right? What is that telling you? That's telling you since 2017, right? Since 2017, we've had a multi-year higher lows on this over time, right? And people won't realize this because people aren't used to looking at the holistic picture, right? You look at this and say, oh, look, lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows. Yeah, that's fine if you're trading the local range. If you're scalping, if you're intraday trading, yes, that's true, right? But you got to look at the prevailing picture first. The prevailing picture is, since 2017, this thing has been putting in higher lows. What does that mean? That means that there is whether it's one market maker or whether it's a collective of market makers, right? We're just going to refer to them as the composite man, okay? This composite entity, right, is an absolute shark in the water. Anytime there's blood, they go on a feeding frenzy. Look, it's a buyback, it's a buyback, it's a buyback, meaning over the years and years and years, 3 years, right? Another 3 years. Over the last 7 years, right? Some composite entity, right, has been buying this, buying this, buying this. You literally have a 7 to 8 year accumulation staring you in the face. It's staring you literally in the face. All you have to do is just look at the big picture, right? So, is it really a surprise then, right? Literally, I'm not even talking about any tier right now. I'm literally just talking about the most fundamental read on the price action. Is it any surprise we got such an insane move up, right? Well, it's very clear that this asset's been under accumulation. If it hadn't, you'd be putting new lows in. No one would be there to hold the floor up, but the floor's been held up time and time and time again, and not just on the hourly, not just on the 15 minutes, which is what most people are looking at, on the yearly basis, right? And on top of that, now what we can do is throw in TA, right? You can throw in your buy-seller zones. You can look at your wave structure. For example, 2020 to 2022, you had a massive macro bullish bad complete, right? 0.5886. You went, now we're talking more technically, right? You had multiple attempts from sellers to try and breach said bullish bad, but you can see wicks, every single time they tried to do so, they weren't successful, right? Into your yearly 18-19 buy seller zone, right? You reclaimed the mid, went up, another drop to turn the mid into support, right? Back up. You have massive higher time frame smiley faces, right? You have local smiley faces as well. If I was to show you in terms of oh, it's the crypto chart. Is that why? One sec. Hold on 1 second. Right, if you take a look. Jesus, you can tell which are my old charts and which are my new in it. Let me get rid of all of this. Really old charts. Yeah, get out of here. Okay, so where that M shape completed, right? 2022. So we're looking at the place where the M shape completed. We can see there's a huge amount of not trapped, but rather there's a huge amount of aggressive selling going on, right? All these red dots means aggressive selling are coming up, but is the aggressive selling now being rewarded, right? And I know I'm talking about this on the higher time frame, but when it comes to scalping, it's the exact same terminology, exact same methods we're using, just a different time frame, right? We have a huge amount of aggressive selling going on. We've got market shorts coming in, right? We've got market sells coming in. But if you were to now take a look, like I was saying, at the XRP chart with all the data on, right? We know there's aggressive sellers, but if you take a look, was that aggressive selling rewarded? No, it weren't. Right? You're telling me you've got all that week after week after week, you've got a couple months straight of just pure aggressive selling, and you couldn't even go breach the low. You still made a higher low. Right? You still put a higher low in. Take a look. You literally couldn't even breach your demand line, right? So aggressive sellers are now trapped. We know there's trapped sellers. And by the way, for those that weren't here when I gave the ETH call, this was the exact reason why I gave the 1,500 ETH entry, right? We saw how much trapped sellers there were in ETH, right? But we have all those trap sellers coming in, right? This is now for this particular leg as well. We've got the holistic picture. We've got that. We've got a cumulative structure above key areas. So it's really not a surprise we went up, right? We talked about this many times. XRP was one of the ones everyone laughed at, right? But again, just look how hard it went. And people were expecting this from low caps, right? People are entering meme coins trying to get this. This was a high cap staring you in the face, right? High cap literally staring you in the face from our 50-cent entry, which is right over here. Ultimately, that's a 560% move. If between November 2024 and July 2025, you haven't 5.6 to your account, you would have outperformed literally buying XRP and holding it, right? So, and of course, this is now just linear, right? We can move on to log. And if you take a look at log, something even more interesting is happening because you can see that a cumulative structure, an XRP on log, right? In fact, let me go back to linear. I've got a whole separate canvas just for log. It's here somewhere, right? So if I go to focus, don't be scared by that. That's my scalping. I've not used it in a while. There, let's go to something nicer. There we go. If you take a look at XRP on log, you will notice how much nicer the pattern is, right? Here we go. This was that bit that was irrelevant over here, right? That we can see that's still valid structure. You had a pennant, you had a breakout. What did you have here in XRP? Look, even nicer. If you went from linear and literally looked at this on log, you could have seen this even easier. The XRP is simply consolidating, putting in higher lows, right? Consolidating, compressing within a structure, and then after that, when you reach the end of compression, you have a directional bet. Do you think we're going to go up or do you think we're going to go down? If this was a 15-minute structure, maybe you'd have a 50-50 directional bet. But guess what? We know this has been holding since 2017. So the directional bet clearly is to the upside, right? And this was the exact same chart I posted on this server, literally the day before we broke up, right? And now what you have is you had the breakout. You have you've got Fibonacci targets to take you higher. Wherever your peak for now is the 0.5. I fully think this blue box minimum is possible for XRP, and depending on how much liquidity comes in, why not $6, right? Why not $8, right? If you get above $3.61, all of this is fair game. All of this, in terms of price expansion, all of this is fair game, right? So only thing we've got to do is get above $3.61, and that'd be possible for XRP. So why am I showing you all of this, right? Because this now is something, again, I was talking about XRP like before this move happened. The way that I'm going to be talking about Litecoin is exactly how I was talking about XRP. Not everyone will see the vision. Everyone's going to be understand you've got such an easy asymmetrical bet to the upside on higher time frame on some of these lows, right? Because we see how these play out. So now, if we go and we take a look at Litecoin, what do you notice, right? One sec. Damn, is this the one I was on? One sec, guys. Right, what you notice is, yeah, it's not, if you take a look, right, what do we have? Here is 2017, okay? Ignore all of this for now, right? Simplify it for yourself. All I want you to ask yourself first is, on the higher time frame, does it look like there's a composite entity out there that is stacking this coin? Is there liquidity that is propping this up? If you take a look, 2017, lower than 2018 low, right? Which in turn is lower than the 2020 low, which in turn is lower than the 2022 low, which in turn is lower than the 2024 low, which in turn is lower than literally the liquidation event we just had. So what you have here, right, the reason hopefully now you see why I explained XRP first, is what does this tell you? In terms of a price action read, remember things in terms of buyers versus sellers, is telling you that sellers, they can do whatever the fuck they want up over here. We don't really care. But what you do care about is the fact that since 2017, we now have a 8-year structure. 8-year worth of price action worth of data telling us that there is a composite entity out there that is an absolute shark in the water that is buying up Litecoin every single time it comes to these lows. They're not letting Litecoin break structure. They're not letting Litecoin fall into the hands of the sellers as such a pivotal area, right? This is exactly what XRP was doing, right? And now, is there any guarantees this is going to follow XRP? No, there isn't. But we know there's no guarantees in the market. All we can do is take educated bets. That's all we're doing, right? And this, I'd be very surprised if this does not have a similar outcome to what XRP had. We can try and take a look at it on log, right? Look, same thing, right? That's 2019. Yes, you don't have a structure all the way from 2017, but you still have this sort of very, very clear area where you have resistance, right? So you go above, it's very, very simple on Litecoin here, right? You get above this, is going to be towards this very, very fast. And if you ever get above that on Litecoin, then again, this thing goes towards price discovery as well, right? The structure's there. Whether you choose to believe it or not, right? That's up to you. I'm not saying you need to have Litecoin, right? You don't need to have Litecoin. What's one thing I'm doing? Yes, I've got in my main pool, of course, I've got spot Litecoin, right? For the challenge account, I have been getting into Litecoin against Bitcoin, right? Because I believe that sooner rather than later, Litecoin is going to start outperforming Bitcoin. If I think Bitcoin's close to a macro top and Litecoin is literally still under accumulation, that is a logical bet, which is why I'm just doing daily DCAs into Litecoin against Bitcoin on the challenge account, right? Because if this breaks out, Litecoin goes, while Bitcoin is stagnating, Bitcoin's already topped, or Litecoin, all Litecoin has to do is get a bigger percentage return than Bitcoin will, which, let's be honest, is very easy for Litecoin to do, right? Because Bitcoin is now very close to its highs in my opinion, right? The biggest crypto, biggest market cap crypto rather. So once that starts stalling and liquidity starts flowing, if LTC is one of the ones that gets the bet, percentage wise it's going to absolutely outperform. So you could be holding spot and you could also make money from the fact you betted on the fact it's going to start outperforming Bitcoin, which is what I've done for the challenge account, right? So Litecoin is another one that I think looks absolutely insane, right? Looks, for the higher time frame, this looks insane. Literally just that dump look, right? That insane liquidation we had, even the liquidation wasn't enough to break the structure. You literally just went and put on the higher low in, right? You didn't even put a new low in. The structure on Litecoin is beautiful, right? It's immense. Does it need to break out right now? No. But the fact of the matter is, as long as this structure remains intact, God knows, if you, let's say it's not gonna, break out crazily this cycle, you do something like this, underwhelming liquidity rotation, go back down for the next bear market. If in 2026 you go and put another higher low in, guess what? That just means that the next bull market you have is going to be an even crazier move to the upside, right? you're just looking for that higher time frame structure to hold. Right? And the reason I mention this is, of course, it's very important to understand higher time frame plays first, right? Before you even get into scalping, it's very important you understand higher time frame plays. If you've made zero money from spot and you don't even know how to manage spot positions, you are not going to be successful on the lower time frame, right? That is just how it is. People think lower time frame is easy because you're in and out. It's not, right? You're just losing money at a faster rate on lower time frame. So master higher time frame first before you move on to lower time frame. On the first session of advanced, that is literally the first thing I say when we're talking when we're having the session where I go about psychological differences between the higher and the lower time frame, right? You master lower higher time frame, you have a much easier time on the lower time frame as well, because your higher time frame thesis is going to dictate to you what you're going to be doing, right? So Litecoin is another one that looks immense, right? This looks really, really nice. Just wanted to go over that, make it a bit more educational today rather than just like, looking at charts the entire time. Does that make sense what what I've gone over here, guys? Do you guys have any questions? Let me quickly check the chat. Oh, we're pretty packed. Nice. Welcome, guys. Miranda. Jord, welcome, bro. CJ. No problem, brother. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. But LTC, right? So Litecoin against Bitcoin is one of my pair bets, right? Which is why I've been saying when I rebalance the port, right? Literally, you don't even need to go all the way down the risk curve, bro. Look at this. Look at some of the setups the higher time frame coins are giving you. Look at some of the setups. Zcash gave us one for the longest time before it moved, and I know some people printed in this server because of Zcash, right? On other servers as well, because like I said, Zcash is probably one of my oldest calls actually, right? Litecoin, I know people printed from XRP, right? I know people printed with XLM. That's another one. If I quickly go and show you guys XLM. Right, if I go to focus here, let's take a look. Right, here is XLM. Same thing, right? We go and take a look. Look what XLM did before it had this insane move up. Since 2020, right? Since 2017, look, every single time you've been going down, you've been dropping less and less and less. You've been completing bullish wave structures. You've been putting in smiley faces, right? And so when you have such a high time from asymmetrical bet, hopefully you see why. Literally just buying, you don't even need to use leverage, literally just buying, spot and holding, you are going to outperform. Because you got to ask yourself, okay, when did XLM move? 2024, right? Under the one we were in, right? If since August of 2024 till now you have not done a 724% return on your portfolio, what the hell are you doing trying to trade when you could have just got into one play and held? And you can see how many of those plays we've had. We've had XRP, we've had XLM, right? There's been loads that have done moves like that, even in stocks, right? We've had stocks move crazy. Right? So master high time frame first, right? You master high time frame, you'll have a way easier time on the lower time frame, right? And the reason I'm showing this is because I know many people think now is still the time to make money through leverage, right? And I'm not saying don't leverage trade. Look, I'm not one of those people who shuns leverage. I think as long as you use leverage in a very appropriate manner with like a minimal funds, right? You're not putting your entire portfolio, you're putting anywhere between 5 to 15% on a higher end on leverage, and you're managing risk on top of that. You're not going balls to the walls with the leverage unless you have a specific strategy for it. I think leverage is a great tool, right? But there is a time and a place, right? Low leverage isolated swings, which is why I always send for, or spot would have been on any of these, right? Would have vastly outperformed any sort of lower time frame trading you would have caught. You could have been trading this since 2022 in this range. Unless you played every single move perfectly, you are not outperforming that one guy who literally just held this for like a 724% move. Saw the SFP, even if they didn't sell the top, you see a SFP like this at T2 for 626%, you're selling. You're outperforming anyone who traded a 3-year range on this. Easy, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make here. And the reason I'm saying that is, again, because there's still alts that are giving us similar opportunities. LTC, I believe, is one of them. Tau, I believe, is another one of them, right? And of course, that's just the higher caps. We're going to have mid caps. We're going to have lower caps as well. But do not fall into the trap of maybe you got liquidated in the October dump, right? Maybe you lost a bit more than you thought you would have. Do not get into the trap of revenge trading, sliding the leverage meter to the right, thinking this is the only way I'm going to make my money back. Understand, as long as you have capital on the side, there's always opportunity in this market. Right now, LTC, Tau, they are two opportunities staring us in the face. Very blindly, they're staring us in the face. Right? They literally have two big signs saying, look here, in bright neon. Okay? Beautiful asymmetrical opportunities for us. So that's enough of that, right? Just wanted to quickly go over that, make it a bit more educational. So let's take a look real quick. Dixie, actually this space barring real quick, not going to take too long with this. I've got too many tabs, bro, one sec. This one, that's the one. Dixie, not looking bad here, honestly. Like, it could still go higher. Hopefully though, we tag that 382, right? Hopefully we sort of put another lower high in and just go tag the 382. That's what I want to see. USDT dominance. Like I said, you do not get above that mid, you're going to have that pullback, right? We didn't get above the mid. We now have many SRPs, as you can see, from that said mid of your liquidation wick, which is why we're seeing some green in Bitcoin, we're seeing green in Ethereum, we're seeing green across the crypto markets, right? Now that this is back in support and it has a chance to go up, if this goes back up again, we're going to see some more red again. So if you're a trader now, if you are scalping, if you're intraday trading, so on and so forth, you're going to be looking at this. This is not an area, right? Especially if we go down towards 4.67 and it holds, that's not an area where you would enter fresh longs, okay? You would wait for that breakdown, trade below 4.67% before you thought of longing again, with invalidation being if you reclaim, you get out of your longs. If you're intraday trading, scalping, so on and so forth, right? Because we know if this goes back up to 5%, 5.52%, we're going to bleed in the crypto markets. It's what it is. We know that, right? I'll go about it. I've mentioned this so many times, so I'm not going to take much time doing this. Same with USDC dominance. Same with USDT plus USDC dominance, right? We hit the trend line, couldn't get above. It's what it is. We do not want that breakout yet. We want one more drive to the downside maybe before, like, you know, we want to break out from here during like the bear market. Right? We don't want to break out from here in like the bull market. That'd be ridiculous. And then there's Bitcoin dominance for stablecoin dominance. As long as you're above 66.11%, altcoins are not fully out of the woodwork, right? You want to get below this. Really 59.83, 52.79. You know, even going to 59.83 from here is going to give us very nice green candles across the crypto markets, right? No, I'm not saying everything is going to give you 2x's, 3x's, so on and so forth. Select projects are going to do better than others. That's why you just look for what narrative is popping, what looks good in terms of charts, right? That's got multi-year structure like LTC, like Tau, so on and so forth. And those are the ones you put your big bets on. But as long as you're above 66.11, there's always a chance that this might go and bounce up. If that happens, we might not be done with the red yet, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Total, back above where we need to be, right? Very nice, beautiful, back above where we need to be. Wave structure still intact, 382, right? So if you get above 3.86 trillion, guess what? You're probably going to make a run towards 4.42 trillion, in my opinion. The bearish structure would be if you started to go and put a lower high over there, right? You start putting distributive structure in, then that's going to be very telling of what kind of strength we can expect from Bitcoin, right? But total, literally, like I said, above what we need to be. Literally, how many times did I say, even July, even like, you know, June, July, right? I was saying, look, even if you break down from this very key level, as long as we have a successful retest of this, we're fine. We had that successful retest in the liquidation wick, look, right? And now sellers have not been able to take us below that 3.63 trillion. We know this is a line in the sand, right? We're back above. So right now, at local resistance at 3.86 trillion, this is your previous 6 months seller zone high, right? We get above that, it's 4.06 again, 4.23, and then hopefully 4.42 to 4.47. Really want this to hit, because this deep crab is going to complete at 4.42 trillion, right? So that's that. But we'll keep a close eye on this. At the end of the day, if you can't get above 3.86 trillion, then again, if you're looking for shorts, you might have a really nice opportunity to look for shorts if you cannot get above this, right? If you're going to scalp, this is the type of areas where you pay attention, where you're at higher time frame levels, but you know the outcome is going to be deciding whether you're going to get red or green. We know if you cannot get above this, right? If you cannot get above this, we're going to see some more red if it should be get that pullback, right? So then you could scalp to swing, whatever. You can go on the short side, right? But that is only if we get that. Are you going to be doing anything here? No, right? If this was a chart, you wouldn't be doing anything here, because we do not know if sellers are taking control yet. We do not know if buyers are taking control yet. So until we see that one-sided directional bias, you wouldn't be doing anything, right? So do I think the Bitcoin top is in? I got no idea, right? That's a question I get asked a lot. Do I think the Bitcoin top is in? I'm not in the business of trying to call tops and bottoms with like utmost accuracy, right? I just want to know where my significant levels are, where a potential top could happen. That served me very well, and that's allowed me to serve you guys very well over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, so on and so forth, right? Like I said, but the Bitcoin chart for me is very simple. If I go to focus, here is the Bitcoin chart, right? And we know what we have is higher time frame ABCDs. I can get rid of that because that didn't come to play unless we take it as a shock. 1.13. Turn that off for now. On a higher time frame basis, there's your ABCD, right? We know there is the 2.24, 2.618. We know there's the 3.14 and the 3.618, right? We have hit as far as the 3.14. I always said blow off top anywhere between the 2.24 to the 3.618, specifically 2.618 and above, right? We've hit the 3.14. Like if we decide that's the top, then it's what it is. If we decide we want to go for the next target, we've got 132,063 above us, right? That'd be the next one. There's no telling if we hit it or not, like I said, but there is nothing stopping us from doing that as long as the money's flowing in either, right? You take a look, we've got this extremely evident sort of broadening structure. We've bounced off the bottom side of it for now. Why not hit the top side, right? You know, we've got till December of 2025, even the simplest intersection you could ask for, December of 2025 right there. Just literally just a trend line, right? We've got time, right? If you accept above that, then I will be forced to look at other factors, other wave structures as they come. But for now, the other macro wave structure we've got is this one right here, 2.24 152, 2.61 165, right? Do these get hit? I don't know. First things first, we've got this to get above. Second thing second, we've got 132 to contend with, see what kind of reaction we get there. But if we get above that, this is completely fair game. There's no reason why this wouldn't be, right? It's price discovery. We can go as high as we want. So we'll currently at mid-range for BTC, but let's see how this plays out, right? But yeah, so that's Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Ethereum real quick, right? Ethereum, so strong. Like I've been saying, look, as long as you're above the historical price range, what are you bearish for, right? And this is just one way you can do it. I know there were some questions about historical price ranges and stuff. We'll go over that in the consolidation session on Saturday, okay? So if I go to Ethereum, one second. I know I've got one with, yeah, there we go, right? Let me just get off log there. Like I mentioned, right? We had a completed wave structure. There is a historical price ranges there. We can see very clearly this is a key inflection area. I just haven't marked it down, right? But we can see very, very clearly that there is a key inflection area here, right? This is literally the boundary. This is your range boundary between 4 and 5, right? Could we break below? No. They tried, but we couldn't break below. Every single close we've had has been above that key inflection area. And now what are you doing? You've gone and you're trying to reclaim. Look, if you get a successful retest to this sort of area here, that is an easy bet to take. That is you could take a scalp to swing long on ETH there. Right here. This area right here, scalp to swing long on ETH. You're targeting this upside and probably new highs, right? Hopefully 5,800 gets hit minimum for price discovery. So Ethereum also looks fantastic. And of course, that leads me to then believe ETH against BTC is also not done. So if you go and take a look at ETH against BTC, the main play I have in the old pairings, right? The main play, I'm still adding to ETH against BTC at these levels. Like I said, the reason I didn't add for a long time was because we had up only. I'm not adding an up only. This is why I'm so patient, right? You get that final pullback, or rather you get that pullback to key areas, I'm going to add. The reason I didn't add, the last adds we did over here, right? The reason I didn't add after that is because I added one when we flipped the mid, and I didn't add any move up over here because there was no signs of weakness here, right? Now that we've had such a deep discount into key areas, of course I'm going to add, right? I added down here, I'm going to add some more over here until we get that breakout basically, right? Because right now what we have going for us is a very nice smiley face where the main liquidation event was trap traders. As we can see, we're above our macro point of control, but we're trying to put a smiley face in at a key area, right? This is a area where sellers were trapped before as well. You have actual support resistance here. The only thing we need now here is very simple. We need a breakout. We get that breakout above this trend line, above this supply line, send it to 0.04 again, right? And I honestly think this gets hit. The T2 of your macro wave structure. That to that to that to that to that. Hit the T2. Once we hit T2, I'm not going to be greedy, right? I'm not going to say once as if we're definitely going to hit it, right? I'm obviously going to be looking for signs of weakness. But look, in terms of liquidity, all of that is now liquidity to be taken. If I have a target and resting liquidity above, I'm going to be targeting this area. So should we go here, right? Straight into towards our next high volume node compared to outside of our main, right? Because remember, low volume nodes, LVNs, act as well, how do I say it? They act as repulsors, right? You repulse away from there, attracting to high volume areas. If I go here, I do not care how much higher we think we can go. I'm taking profits on the challenge account because we would have gone, don't forget, from $8 we started with, right? $8 I started the account, we would have gone to close enough to 5 figures. And this is all done publicly. I put it on Twitter, I put it on the challenge account section. I'm going to be sharing the PNLs, dollar PNLs with you guys. If we hit $8 to even like 5k, I challenge you to find anyone that's done something like that with a proper trade. Not chucking something in a random meme coin and hoping for the best, with a proper executed and planned trade, right? And that's what I'm doing. But of course, on the same account, I'm also starting to open up LTC against Bitcoin, right? So if both LTC against Bitcoin and ETH against Bitcoin go, I'm very, very optimistic that hopefully we can run this close to 5 figures. From like on total, it's probably going to be around like a $30 investment. Right? We'll see by the time we're done with it. I'll show every single dollar PNL like I've been doing all this time, and we'll take a look. Yeah, but ETH against BTC, I do not think it's done. This looks insane. Look, all we had even on a high enough time frame basis, right? The last sort of serious lower highs that led to your lower lows, right, has been taken out. We're now starting to put a higher low in. Understand what that is. The first thing we go over in core, the most basic thing I teach you guys, that is a trend shift, right? Here is the last lower high that led to the lower low. What have you done? Taken out the last high, and now you're putting a higher low in. If this is the high low, guess what? You're gonna go and carry that trend back to the upside, right? And of course, if you want to go extra with it, we can try and look for. Here is the one that shifted trend, right? We probably hit the 0.5, right? We front ran the 0.618, so you're within your diagonals, right? You're within the diagonals as well. ETH against BTC, in my opinion, is not done. And if ETH against BTC is not done, that means all coins are probably not done either, right? So, ETH against BTC, I'm, as long as I'm at area of value where I can easily manage my risk, I'm going to keep adding more, right? Because I'm finally getting that chance. I didn't have the chance for a long time, right? Because after these low bids over here that we got, I'm not going to add during massive green candles with no pullbacks. Now we're finally getting that. I'm going to make the most of it, right? And then once once it's done and you break out, guess what? We're just going to watch. It goes up again. People will try and chase, but I'm not going to be adding once you're on a way up again, right? Because it's what it is. Once I see huge trap buys coming in now, I'll be looking for offside instead. Again, we had aggressive buyers not breaking above the key levels we needed to break above. We had trap buyers at the highs here, right? If you look at it on a 2-week basis, if you look at it on a daily basis, we very clearly had trap buys over here. You had distributive structure. In fact, I pointed this out, right? We pointed this out. The only thing is I didn't like hedge, right? Because I wanted to show you guys what you can do with the long side, right? I didn't hedge short this on the challenge account, right? But you could have if you wanted to, right? We literally gave the, what you're looking for. The trap traders, you could have hedged it based off this, right? Literally gave where the invalidations would have been, so on and so forth, on a stream. I just didn't do it for the challenge account, right? I just instead focused on adding the high low. That's all I wanted to do. Keep it simple. But yeah, it's opportunities, right? We've got opportunities, and of course, some of our other plays aren't looking as good in terms of like, if you're talking like lists, right? If you're talking like the top, the creme la creme of what looks really good right now is the high cap, especially LTC and TAO. They look good. Say does not look as good as LTC or TAO, so on and so forth. But I'm still holding these because these aren't high caps. I'm not expecting liquidity to rotate into Say straight away. I'm not expecting liquidity to rotate into AVAX straight away, right? But I think that liquidity rotation will come, right? And it will come on charts like this that are still protecting the lows, that are still giving structure we can work with, more importantly, right? Structure we can very, very easily work and identify with. Say needs to get above, reclaim this. I need to get rid of a lot of this. You can see it's old, right? But once you focus on what looks good, put your money there first, and once you make profits off those, if these start to look better and better, you size up more on them, right? Say I still have Say on the challenge account, right? I still have AVAX on the challenge account, I still have Mondo on the challenge account, so on and so forth. Like we were talking about, Hype is one of the coins where it was above its like previous range highs. We literally said it here, right? Last stream even, that as long as Hype's above, you're taking a bet to the upside. You can see how well that's played out, right? Hype back to the upside. But right now, honestly, you do not need to be, again, in a load of different plays, okay? You just need to be on consolidated bets. I've always said this: consolidated bets, projects you actually think will do well, projects you can size up on, and just have a bit of conviction in your TA, have a bit of conviction in your risk management, right? That's the best advice I can give you right now. So let me go through the chat anyway. Right, let's take a look. Low high around 118.9. Okay. Passed out. Yeah, you start getting like extremely high time frame bearish divs. That's going to be extremely significant. We had that last time as well on BTC, right? The problem with bearish divs is, of course, these things you don't know which is the div that's actually going to play out. You could have multiple drives of bearish divergence before it plays out. But should they start coming up on the monthly, right? 2 months, 3 months, weekly, 2 week, you pay way more attention to those than you would, let's say, like a hourly bearish bullish div or something like this, right? But the higher time frame extremely significant, yeah, in terms of divs. In fact, we can go and take a look at one. If we go back to Bitcoin, if we take a look, and I just literally zoom out with divergences, and I do this. Let me take a look. So, let me just show you in terms of RSI for now. Here's your previous high, right? The previous structure. And a big reason why I was telling people, look, get out of the markets over here, was because if you take a look, your high in price, right? And we're going to start a higher time frame first. So you can go on something like the 3 months, right? We can go something like the 3 months. You've got a series of higher highs in price, RSI very clearly lower high, right? Then you start going down. 2 months, higher high in price, RSI is putting a very clear lower high in. Monthly, higher high in price, RSI is putting a very clear lower high in. 2 weeks, higher high in price, RSI is putting a very clear lower high in. Weekly, right? Higher high in price, RSI is putting a very clear lower high in. So you've had various divergences stacked from all the way from the quarterly, right, down to the weekly. Not only that, if you now take a look at this peak here, you have a higher high in price, right? If you go to the daily here, right, and we scoot on back again to this price action over here. If you take a look at the daily, you have a higher high in price, you have a lower high in RSI. So on the daily, we have bearish divergence on the higher time frame across these peaks. On the daily, you have bearish divergence over here, and I remember this clear as day, right? I remember this clear as day. Not only do we have that, but you drop to something like the 4 hours, right? And we go back to this area, and it will be surprise, surprise. If we take a look, what do we have over here? You have higher high in price, lower high in RSI. You can see the way you've stacked from the 3 months all the way down to something like the 4 hours, all the way to the 4 hours. Right? And it's not like this was happening in the middle of nowhere. Like you guys, from the many sessions we've had, whether it be one-on-ones or group sessions, right? Everyone here has finished call. Almost everyone has finished call. Some people are yet to start. We're going to be starting sometime next month, right? We know how many key areas there were over here, right? Right now, there's all you see is this. We know there was fib extensions in terms of fib retracements, right? There was liquidity rates. We know there was trend-based. A very easy thing you can visualize. Literally, I can show you right now. Is all you had to do was, again, macro, where is your low, where is your high, right? We got this, here's your low, here's your high, low. Surprise, surprise, the very all-important golden pocket, right? That's where this was happening. You had so many confluences over here, so many. It's the fact you have all these areas, you have all these reasons why the area should be significant, and then you have price action coming in at that significant area, right? So something similar is what I'd be looking for. Right? Obviously, not every cycle is going to play out the same, so on and so forth. But we start seeing multiple drives of bearish divergence. You start seeing bearish divergence stacking across time frames. That's where I'd be really worried. Right? For example, if you take a look over here on the monthly, right? It's saying bearish divergence. You've got higher highs in price, but I would argue that bearish divergence is probably already played out. We've had the dump. Right, we've had the dump, and RSI looks ready to reset, go back higher. It's consolidating. Right? There's nothing indicative of a certain, right? There's no certainty. There's no shift in structure. There's nothing. Look at this monthly candle. We're going to close green in 3 days' time. After such a huge liquidation event, we're going to close the month green, right? So you want something really, really substantial, right? Do I see anything on the 3 months? No, RSI is curling up still on the 3 months. There's no sign of bearish divergence. Do I see anything on the 2 months? No, RSI is still curling up on the 2 months, right? On the monthly, we had some bearish divergence here, right? We had some bearish divergence over here, but I would argue again that's played out. We had a 20k drop in an hour, right? If that's not an outcome of a bearish divergence playing out, I don't know what is, right? So before we know, this could be a reset before we get on the leg up, right? So we just have to see. I don't know if the top is in yet. I'm not even here trying to call tops and bottoms yet, right? Once I think the top is in, I'll say it, right? Over here, we had the reason to be worried as long as we look like we were accepting below this area, because we know that we had what our buy seller zones, right? So if I go to focus, I go to Bitcoin, we know we had our buy seller zones in this area. It's the same chart. Yeah, I think it's this one here. We know we had our buy seller zones to fall back on, right? So if we're below 2024 high and the bearish divergence of the bearish divergence and buyers aren't able to get above, we have a very clear and technical reason, right, for why there's a possibility a top could be in. Because look, if you can't even get above previous year high, you've got no shot of challenging anything put in the current year. But the fact of the matter is, previous year high was defended. We raided liquidity, we put in bullish divergence, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we put in, there's lower lows in price, high lows in RSI, right? We put in bullish divergence, trap traders, and reclaimed. And so, as long as we're above this, it's danger averted, right? Now there's a fair value gap we're contending with here on the daily. So, that's something you'd have to watch for. So let me just go and mark that down now. Current cycle is from here to here, right? 117k. You get above that, 117 to 119. You get above that, I think you go and put a new high into Bitcoin. Like it's what it is. If not, and you start seeing weakness coming in, you have a very easy area to go scalp to swing short, right? You could try and go for a swing straight away if you want, but my recommendation would be to go scalp to swing always to begin with, and then once your trend is confirmed, then you would open up a big swing position. You would turn your scalp to swing into a big swing position, right? But you've got a very clear area here now where you're going to be looking for weakness, because if you start turning 117 into support, then your next area where liquidity is going to be resting is going to be above all of this, right? So very easy to navigate here on Bitcoin, in my opinion. But let me go back to the chat and take a look. Can't buy a Happy Meal, yeah. That's the whole reason. When I came up with the concept of the challenge account, right? The reason I was literally, the reason I said I'm putting low amounts into ETH against BTC is because my word for word, what I said was, I want to show you guys firstly that you don't need much to get started with trading, right? And secondly, I wanted to show you guys the actual benefit of trading the pair itself as well, right? Because it's a different way to look at it. If you're trading the USD chart, you're trying to trade the strength against the dollar. But if you're trading a pair chart, you're fundamentally thinking about it different. You're not trying to say, oh yeah, this looks ready to run against the dollar. You're saying this looks ready to run against another asset. You're trading strength, relative strength at that point, right? It's a different way to look at the market. But yeah, at peak, that was a 3K, right? From $8 to 3K, back down to 1.6 right now, because obviously ETH against BTC is down. But look, literally sizing up here. Once we go back up, we're going to be even further up, right? LTC against BTC as well. So yeah, hopefully, we do carry on. Hopefully we get to 0.06 sats at least on this one. 2.5 dead account. $2.5, bro. That's crazy. Insane. Nice, bro. Nice, man. That's fire. First ever spot ETS was sold. Wasn't that meant to be going live? Bitcoin trading. Oh, that explains it, right? LTC, HBAR. It explains why HBAR is going as well. Yeah, that's crazy. There's probably going to be volatility off the back of it for a bit, but higher time frame, that is extremely bullish. Yeah. FOMC, yeah, this is a very volatile week, by the way, guys. FOMC, rate cuts, so on and so forth. Has the rate cuts already happened, or is that as in I think CPI's data is meant to come out as well, right? Or am I mistaken? Parcel and CRV, yeah, I'll take a look at you, bro. I think RWA as a whole can survive, bro. I think it was obviously narratives are always hot when they first come out. I think not every RWA project is gonna do well. I think if you're gonna go into RWA, literally like 2 or 3 coins max, just hold a few, like one high cap, one mid, something like this. Real world assets, but real world assets as a whole, I think, is a very fundamental a narrative. I think is of the use cases sort of speaks for itself. So I think like as long as you enter a project with like a proper risk management, obviously the first thing to do, you probably find many charts out there on our RWA projects that you could probably make some nice returns on. Right, Parcel and CRV, let's get to that. If anyone else has any requests, put them in. Let's take a look at Parcel first. We'll look at some stocks as well, of course, because I don't want you guys to be crypto only degens, right? There's loads of money to be made in trading stocks. Hopefully, like the stock channel. Just go to the stock channel, and speak for itself. Parcel USD. Have I had this before? One sec. My big list is here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's take a look. What does Parcel do, bro? Let's begin with that. Is this the best ticker to look at as well? CPI already? Okay, yeah. I'm not sure what Parcel does. Now, I can't lie. Looking at this, the chart looks dead. Unless there's a chart with more data I can look at, right? If this is the start of it, obviously we're below everything we need to be. So this is not something I'd be comfortable like, putting size in or anything like this. Like, a coin like this, if you believe in something fundamentally, but the chart's like this, the native utility and government's token for the Parcel platform, a decentralized exchange where users can speculate on real estate price movements without physically owning property. Okay, interesting. PC on 31st/10. Oh, CPI already happened. Okay, I'm out the loop, aren't I? Okay, this chart itself, dead. I can't lie to you, dead. But if you wanted to own it, and you want to, the only reason I could give this now is a TA based perspective. The only thing you have going for yourself is the liquidation wick, right? I'm basing literally everything off the liquidation wick right now, but that monthly chart should speak volumes. This is a absolutely terrible looking chart right now. I don't see why you would prioritize this over something that looks ready to go, right? There's no signs of accumulation. There's no signs of any interest in the chart. Right, there's good dumps, right? There's organized good dumps as in, like, for example, we like I explained XRP LTC, where no matter how high you go, you come down, but there's some sort of base where you see there's interest, right? This doesn't have anything like that. This thing's literally making lower lows and lower lows over time. There's no signs, basically. You cannot look at this and say, yeah, buys are accumulating. You can't say that, right? Because there is no signs of accumulation here. Anyone who bought is going to be in the red. Anyone who bought here is going to be in the red. Anyone who bought here is now going to be in the red. So there is no signs of actual accumulation here. The chart itself is not showing you that. And of course, if there's no signs of accumulation, that means the chart itself is showing you there's no there's not enough parties interested to give this chart life, right? So for that reason, I could not actually recommend you buy this right now. If you seriously believe in this asset and you think the love is in, it wouldn't hurt to put maybe let's say you've got let's say you believe in something, asset class of this size. Let's say you've got a reasonable 15-20k position size for a spot, right? I'd put literally 2k max, 3k max in spot, leave the rest in case it actually survives. So you can always size up. At least you have a position from the lows. Otherwise, I wouldn't do anything. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend putting anything more than maybe 15-20k spot into this, something little, because there's no guarantees this would even survive. The chart looks dead, insanely dead. And the thing is, you don't have to bottom tick entries, right? You don't. It's I would rather buy this if we do something like this, for example. We get a raid, we go up, we sort of reclaim this area, right? Retest, reclaim. Once all of that comes in, I'd rather buy at 12 cents than 4 cents, because you're still gonna have an area where risk is easy to manage, but you're not entering on a gamble, right? You're entering on. Obviously, trading is a gamble, but you're entering on an educated, risk managed system, right? Rather than just trying to bottom knife catch here, basically. Parcel doesn't look good. This doesn't look, in terms of charts, it doesn't look good. Maybe you'll get a revival one day, right? And what I'll do is, just in case, I'll go and add a alert for this trend line. There we go. But otherwise, right now, parcel looks dead, bro. Yeah. The other one you wanted was CRV, I believe. Yeah, let's take a look at CRV. CRV is another one, by the way, that ran right. That's another example I could have given. CRV, USD, something else we got into here. The reason for getting into CRV was, now, in fact, I'll explain this in terms of price action as well, right? The CRV entry was, this was a beautiful one. This was a beautiful play. We made really nice money off it, took so much profits off this one. And then after that, the liquidation event stopped everything out. But this one was a crazy play, right? CRV. And now, again, real quick, just so it's a bit educational, you guys get used to it. Why did I give that CRV call? People, believe me when I say, even people I respect, right? Even people who broke records in the UK in terms of profit and payouts, they were trying to buy CRV every single point on the way down, right? The reason I gave you guys CRV specifically here and not here and not here and not here, when, you know, it looked like, oh, it could go, the fact of the matter is, right, if you were doing an intraday trade, something like this, right, or intra-week trade in this case, whatever, you would have been fine. But you did not have enough structure over here to warrant entering a super high time frame play, right? Anything you entered here would have been local. Like, for example, you had a smiley face, very visible one, right over here, right? You would have entered this play based off that. But the fact of the matter is, if you went to a previous sort of seller zone and you SIP'd, you couldn't get above. You've got trap. Let me see. You've got aggressive buyers coming in. That's not being rewarded. You know, you're probably like approaching the end of that macro move as a whole, right? So we have all of this, right? Over time, what do? We go and build structure. You always have more time than you think. Over time, we build structure. You go back to the low, right? This demand line is this box is the same, right? Exact same here. And later on, you came and used to here, but it's from here to here, right? This, you come back down to the demand box, have a move up. Now you have enough for this supply box as well. You do not get above the supply box. Once again, you have, if you go to the daily, trapped buyers, right? You've got aggressive buyers coming in, and on the daily it's not showing it, but this is gate at the end of the day, right? If you look at Binance or something, there's definitely going to be trapped buyers. But we had huge amount of aggressive buying coming in. You could not get above where you needed to. So again, we're saying that aggressive buying is not being rewarded. Therefore, the edge is to the sellers, right? You come back down, same area. Then what do you have? Sellers, right? A huge amounts of aggressive selling, not being rewarded. These are the areas where you don't have to go all in here. You can, if you want, for spot, given the fact it's low risk, right? You can go all in if you want, but what you can also do is, let's say again, you have like a 20k position size you want to put into CRV. You can go and put 3k to 5k in over here. Because you know, stop loss is very easy to put, right? And you know exactly what your risk parameter is. But you also know there's no signs of an actual trend shift. There's no signs of any bullishness coming in yet. What do? You go and you have your impulse up, right? You come down. Eventually, you have your retest. You break out, you have your retest. Now what you're saying is, okay, this entire structure, again, a structure of nearly 3 years, right, has been broken out and finally retested. What did the retest tell us? Support. A cumulative structure came in. Smiley face. But I looked at all of this live, right? This is where you would then put way more size in. Even though it's higher than 24 cents, right? It's nearly double. Look at how much better the chart looks over here compared to over here, right? And then you still would have caught a very, very nice secondary move, right? You would have caught your initial move and you would have caught a very, very nice secondary move of around 175% with size. So again, if you went in with 20k, you're making like 35k profits, right? So this CRV, what we've done now, we've gone back down again to that area of resistance, right? Flip to support, confirmed it once again to be support. Would I do anything here? Well, if we take a look, do we have any key levels? Do I have any buy seller zones? I turn them on. We have a few. I will not do anything with CRV here until we got above, in this case, 60 to 62 cents basically. You can see sort of in the middle of a range, right? If I was to go switch this to the daily, when you see something like this, either you get in when the actual retest is happening. Even here, if you wanted to take a leverage play, right now you can see very clearly, right? If you manage to go and do something like this, put a smiley face in, CRV will look much, much better, and I'd rather get in during that moment in time. If we take a look here, we can also go ahead and do, once again, just like we did before, create a sort of supply line, right? Here to there to there. this is going to look so much better on CRV. You start flipping this into support, right, somewhere a bit later down in time. As long as you're above this and this, that is where I would enter CRV at this point. Given where we are, there's no point buying just below resistance, right? So, but yeah, CRV above that, CRV will look fine. You're above your actual structure now, right? You've had the retest. So yeah, as long as if you're above this, I would look for this to send back higher. Why not, right? But that's my thoughts on CRV. No problem at all, brother. That's my pleasure. Right. So next is let's take a look. Let me go back and what other requests have we had? Let me scroll back in case I missed anything. Asta. Yeah, okay, let's take a look at Asta while you're here, bro. Batman, let's take a look at Asta. Okay. Asta. There were so many people saying this is never going to touch $1 again, and everyone gets humbled, right, in this market. Focus V2. Aster. I've already got it. I just need to find it. So where does all my drawings go to? But it doesn't matter anyway. We're going to take a look at Asta from over here. Unless there's a better chart, let me check just in case. No, if that's the one I put on, I've gone through everything. Okay, let's take a look. Do we have anything on Asta? Let me just go through all my different ones just to make sure I've not sort of... Okay, not here. LDC against Bitcoin is just above that. Not here either, and that one is ticks. Okay, so we'll just do it here. Okay, let's take a look. Nothing on the 12, nothing on the 6, nothing on the 4, nothing, something on the 3. Would you be surprised? Blockchain put something, my bro Tyler put something in crypto chat, and in a way I'd agree with him, right? Realistically, you could do just core and you could be profitable. Like blockchain himself is a very, very good example of this, right? Everything he uses, everything used to get funded, everything used to get to where he is right now in terms of like his trading career, he's literally doing through just core. And this is one of the bread and butters of that, right? Buy seller zones. See where we reacted off is the mid of the area where buyers were in control, sorry, in the previous 3 months. Okay. Not only that, right? We can one sec. I've got some sort of OCD complex with charts. Like I need everything to line up. There. Okay. So that's 3 months. No signs of reversals yet. However, we could look for signs of smiley faces to appear here, perhaps, right? So, but first, there's your 3 months. That's great. What about 2? 2 months is nothing's happened on the 2 months yet, meaning the 3 months is there because the quarterly close has happened, right? So monthly is the same as the 3 months, right? So we can call this just a monthly buy seller zone for now. What about the 2 weeks? There's the 2 weeks. And I'm going to go ahead and change the color to yellow. I think I like Asta as a request, by the way, bro. I think Asta, yeah, I'd be dumb to not own any Asta, especially where it, like, you know, look, this is CZ we're talking about, right? Unless CZ is actually executed, and unless Binance is completely dissolved, we've seen what happened with CZ pushed coins, right? We've seen what happened with BNB. So there's the 2 weeks, right? Okay, so white's monthly, yellow's 2 weeks, right? And then of course we've got the weekly, but I don't see the point in looking at just the 2 weeks, and that should be enough, to be honest. You don't want too much lines on your screen. So that's that. Now let's look for more local structure. What do we have? On the daily, we have a buy seller zone right over here. So very clearly a very nice line in the sand. I would be very surprised if they don't take that out. I mean, there's no guarantees they're going to, right? So if you are looking for leverage plays, it's very simple. You've got two very clear lines in the sand. You've got 1.0766 and 96 cents, right? What you're saying is, if you cannot get above, if you cannot get above 1.0766 and you turn this into resistance, you are okay to favor short side down towards 96 cents in the box and until you claim this back into support. Right? However, looking at the time frames such as the 4 hours, right? Even the 12 hours, probably, yeah. Let's look at the 12 hours. We've got something very nice here. A potential for a smiley face. So, do we have trap traders here is my first question. Now, KSEX, I do not know how much liquidity these man push. So I'm going to open up Binance just to look at the actual market order bubbles. 1 second. What the hell? What is that? 1 sec. Okay, what about Bybit? Is it the same? Why is it not showing any? Okay, there we go, yeah. Question is, do we have any aggressive sellers? And the answer is yes, right? We have a load of aggressive sellers here. Have they been rewarded? They haven't been rewarded for now. So, okay, we've got confirmation that there is aggressive sellers, both on Binance, on Bybit. So we have trap sellers, right? And the key thing here is these trap sellers, and of course, again, there were bullish divergence as well, but these trap sellers are happening where? They are happening, right? Those trap sellers were happening at your key level over here, right? At the 0.5. With that being said, we've got the trap sellers, we've got the left side, and now we've got the right side. As long as you're above 1.076, right, and you can validate this right-hand side of the smiley, that is technically a cumulative structure that could take us higher. Okay, so as long as you're above 1.0766, you are favoring longs. You get below 1.0766 if you're using leverage, and especially you're trying to do intraday trades, you're trying to do like intraday sessions, just cut below 1.0766. However, if you're trying to have a spot position or a swing, well, there's a very easy way to manage your risk here. You're talking basically 6% drawdown to your next key level. That's a 50% move up. That's an 8.48 RR trade to go back towards these highs, right? And you know, if you want to be safe, you probably go with this. And if you want to like DCA your way into this and have a wider error margin, then something like this is what you're basically going for. Like if you're going for like long term holds, you're going to be going for this one over here, right? Because if you can't be asked to manage your positions like every day, you don't want to be stopped out like 3, 4, 5 times before we go up. But if you do want risk management to be your first and foremost thing you're concerned about, if you're getting in here, then I'd go with a tighter play, something like this. Look, you start closing below this mid, right? You start turning that mid to resistance, closing below, losing that low. You know you're going to 96 cents, and if you lose that, you know you're taking this out, right? You've got other buy seller zones we can put on. There's a weekly that's going to be somewhere down here, but probably 1 sec. Let me see. Let me just for the sake of argument, where is the weekly buy zone? Right, the weekly's right there, 84 cents, right? So we know there's your weekly buy zone, right? So we know there's targets below us. Should we get below all of those levels? So whether you want to go for the wide or the shallow option is completely up to you, right? But as long as this smiley face holds, right, this is a very nice area to try and manage your risk. Very, very nice area. Hopefully that helps, bro. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if the smiley face prints here, we could have a nice move up, right? So above 1.0, if you're doing like intraday trading, like I said, above 1.076 you're in, below 1.006 don't even think about it, right? Just have successful retests. Because if you get below 1.076, you're going to get 1.05, right? If you're using high leverage and you're doing like 3-minute entries, that's going to make a difference. A minute spot, nice, bro. Are you entering like now, or do you have spot from like lower, or you just like bag holding for the long term? I'll definitely get into some of this as well. Will I get in yet? I'll take a look. I might wait for the daily close before I get in. Looking to add some more. Yeah, nice, bro. I think I'm going to wait for the daily close before I get in, whether I decide I'm going to get in or not. But yeah, this is a nice spot. I just think there's a high chance this might get raided. I don't see them leaving this behind. Diabolical if they do. like a raid to reclaim would be nice, but of course they don't need to do it, right? So that's fine. But yeah, that's Asta. Right, let me go and check. Do we have any other recommendations? Kuwaiti dinar, yeah. Right, let's take a look. Yo, Adam, how you doing, bro? Okay, I think that is everything. Oh wait, no, there is something George put up. What's that? ESX. Let's take a look. Focus. I opened up a Kraken account to try and do the Sol against BTC. I think I told you guys because Sol against ETH, right? That was the second pair trade I gave. And I realized once I put into Kraken, like it just won't work for the purposes of what I'm trying to do with the challenge account, right? Through Prime XBT, I could trade the actual ticker itself, right? And they give really high leverage, so I can do the little position sizes, rather little like initial capital to big position size scale up. Kraken doesn't, so I couldn't do it sadly. But ESX USDT, right? There's MEXC, there's HTX as well, and then let's look at the Radium charts just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so which one has the most data? Good request, because if you can find something bottomed out like this and it's fairly new and it's got a narrative behind it, there's HTX, there's Radium. Somehow it's lower on Radium. How is HTX like? How legit is HTX as an exchange? Can I trust this? I'm guessing I can. Yeah, why not? Okay, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of Kraken. It's either MEXC or HTX. I'll go with HTX because there's more data. Okay, obviously nothing on the yearly. Is there something on the 6 months? There is. Obviously, we know 6 months of trading data has not come to the asset, but since the close has happened, I'm still going to take it, right? We're going to go put the 6 month down. It's probably going to be like a monthly anyway, but here is, so that is not something obviously that you want to see. So there's just, for now, there's just 6 months. We will change the time frame. What about the 4? Okay, there's the 4. So for now, the white is the 6 and the yellow is going to be the 4. Okay. There we go. Okay, so that's that. So below even the 4 months right now, which is obviously a bit peak. What about the 3? So, okay, so the 3 is the same as the 6, so we're going to call that the 3 month instead of the 6 month. It's probably going to be the same as the 2. Okay, so the white is the same as the 2, so the white is the 2 month. What about the monthly? And it's also the same. Okay, so the white is the monthly. Okay, right here. There we go. What about the 2 weeks? That's probably going to be different. Yeah, okay. So this is your higher time frame one for now. This two. One for the 4 months, was it? Yeah, one for the 4 months and one for the monthly. Okay. So below all of that, and you can go and do like 2 weeks, so on and so forth as well. But at this stage, I don't see the point in doing weeklies, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to drop it straight to the daily and see do we have anything local that we can do over here. And the answer to that is 3 day. Let's take a look. 12 hours. Just needs some structure. Okay, here's an order block. The 12 hours. A rate of this would be beautiful if we got it. Because there's a 12-hour fair value gap there. There is a big fair value gap over here as well, but you pretty much filled all of it. And realistically, you could just go and call that a daily order block as well. There you go. So you get daily order block. As long as this box holds, you're fine for this asset, bro. As long as this box holds, you're fine for the asset. Below this box is absolutely terrible. You'll probably have like a daily or a weekly old buy zone to go towards, but you don't want to think about this like below this, right? You'll have no structure. At least you have some structure going for you over here. So the question is, are they going to give us a high low at some point, or are they going to rate to reclaim? If you're bullish, you want a rate to reclaim, right? Even if it's a high low, it's a rate to reclaim. That's you want ultimately. By the time the move is done, you want this area to be holding basically, right? So what I would be looking for is signs of bullish divergence, signs of bullish divergence, signs of trap traders, right? More importantly, signs of trapped sellers, right? Look at signs of trapped sellers. You want aggressive selling going in, not being rewarded. And let's see, do we have any other form of, forms of thing here? So what about wave structures? For example, could we do this? That's a 786, perhaps a 272. There we go. Yeah, so you're very close to completing a butterfly. In fact, this looks really nice. I know some people don't like harmonics, some people do. I love harmonics as a confluence, right? And obviously from the plays you guys have taken, the money you guys have made, you will know they do work. 0.382, might as well just go for the proper. This is nearly a perfect one actually. There we go, 382. 786, we're looking for the 1.272. So that 272 is going to come in. Right, that is insanely nice. I'm not joking. A 272 and a 2.618. Okay. So here is an extremely pivotal level for this asset. This is butterfly 1.272 plus 2.618. There we go. So around these levels, right, basically, I don't care if you chop, I don't care if you go lower. Ultimately, on the higher time frame, do you go and reclaim? Do you go and put smiley faces in? Do you go and trap the aggressive shorts that come in? That is what you're looking for, bro. Because if that happens, then you have a really nice bid here. You can, like I said, if you want to hold some spot for this, like you could do like a spot entry here, right? Again, remember, just 20, 40, 40, right? If you go to an area that you know you're interested in, you have your initial allocation. Now, stop loss wise, my stop loss is very simple. I'd put it just below this wick. If you get below, you cut. That is a minimum, let's say 21%, right? Because I like to work in multiple of threes, 21%. How much of a percentage allocation are you looking for? A 21% is what you're asking first, right? So let's say you have a 10k position size on this, right? For 20, 40, 40. If it's a 21% stop loss, maximum I'm going to put is 3k, right? Somewhere between 2.5 to 3k is what I'll be putting initially here. The remaining of that position size I'm going to save for the remaining 40, 40 for the DCA slash size up allocation, and finally the trend shift allocation. You're saving those. So if you want a 20, 40, 40, you've got an entry right now. If you don't want a 20, 40, 40, you just want to enter one structure looks better, I would hold off from buying until you get more structure around these areas. But it is approaching rather really nice areas in terms of confluence, right? So I will add an alert and I'll keep an eye on it, bro. Thank you for the recommendation. Doesn't look bad at all. RWA project, you say? Yeah, Wyckoff, there's a few people already signed up for that, Sol, bro. I've got 3-4 people already signed up, and if there's more people who want to come in, we're just running. It's going to be a group session anyway. So we'll do it from there. But this one looks very, very nice. This one looks very, very nice. Let's go and let's take a look at, is there anything else I wanted to go over? Let's look at some stocks, right? It's been a while since we looked at stocks. Lemonade, insane, nice. See, this is what I mean. Once the trend shifts, don't bet against the trend until proven otherwise, right? Lemonade back up to the highs. Now, this is an example of areas where you would consider looking for shorts, right? Look, you could have something like this. So if Lemonade was a stock, you could short on Mexi, for example. I would go and open a short on this, a hedge short to hedge against my spot holdings of Lemonade, right? Because if this plays out, you add an order block, you add a previous seller zone, you might go and actually get that deeper retest before you go higher. That wouldn't break the structure. That wouldn't make me bearish. It's just you're retesting areas that you've been to before, right? The stocks eventually, as long as the trend's intact, we go higher. So these are the type of areas where, whether you're scalping, whether you're looking for scalp to swings, or whether you're looking for swings, these are the type of areas where you would actually look for executions. Right here. No aggressive buyers coming in yet, so nothing crazy going on there, right? No trap traders. There were trap traders here, not here. But these are the type of areas where you pay attention to, right? So if you wanted to, like, you know, if you had a way where you could short this. I suppose if you do options, you're looking for puts, right? But I don't do options, so this, or I don't do options often, rather, right? Hardly. But Lemonade, otherwise, like, you get above this, Lemonade goes. It takes this out next, in my opinion, 79.80, make a shit ton of money. And the challenge account would also benefit from that, a couple G's up. Neo, like I said, Chinese stocks, pay attention to them. Look, holding the 34382, long as that's holding, we go higher. Trend shift to higher low. Remember, shallow golden pockets where you want your initial like if your trend is solid, that's where you want people coming in, right? So Neo looks good. Hopefully, if we get above this now, Neo sends, right? 9, 10, we're going to see double digits Neo soon, as long if we get above, if this holds and we get above 771. Baba on the way up, literally, and this is eventually going to turn into like, I think, a multiple, like 300-400% trade for me on my main port. But Baba looks insane. Look, Chinese stocks just look good, man. They look really, really good. Unity. Oh, wait, Adam, are you still here? I remember, yeah, looking at Unity, bro. Unity, take a look. I really want this. I don't know if I'm being greedy by not buying. I really want that, right? If you don't get it, it's what it is. But if you were to get that, you've got a really, really nice PO3 in effect here for Unity to take you back towards $63 to $76, honestly. So I'm going to keep an eye out on that for Unity. Got my alert there, right? So once you approaches the areas, I can take a look. Looking for re-entry. This is yeah. The locally speaking, like this again, this is areas where you could put an inverted smiley in, right? It doesn't mean it has to play out, but you could still fake people out to sell. Like make it look like you're gonna break down and then go higher. So I'll keep an eye on Unity. Yeah. Soon, not interested in this because, like, you know, it was good down over here. You had an insane Gartley. You had a, you know, 382 to 2.24. You had everything here. I think you had an 886 as well, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it close to an 886? Yeah, that's a deep Gartley as well. Not just a normal Gartley, deep Gartley. But this is a T2, right? I can't do much with this here. So, nope. Oracle. Nice little pullback. So, nope. Reddit. Nope. Not interested in these. Estee Lauder. Try to break up of 102 finally, right? Not doing so yet, but we get up of 102, this thing teleports to 130 and then 160, right? So Estee Lauder, this is in the challenge port, challenge stock account, and also in my main account. LAC, we're getting the retest. We're going to break down on LAC after 277% move up, below the 1.618. If this happens, LAC goes back towards $4.10 in my opinion, right? $4.50 to $4.10, let's say. And a very, very telling example on why always take profits, right? This is why I gave the ping many times saying, look, if you haven't taken profits, take profits. 277% move up after an insane move down, news-based catalyst, right? Literally. That's the whole reason I said don't be surprised if good news comes out, right? Because for especially for a stock, something like this, typically news is what's going to justify, quote unquote, the move happening. But in terms of TA, we already know that this is setting up for an area where, you know, big players are probably looking to buy, right? So now we just wait for a higher low. If a higher low comes in, you'll have a chance to read this up if you didn't get in originally, but just depends on where the higher low comes in, right? So if you got in the original entry, you're chilling, especially if you've already taken profits, right? So that's good. EHang Holdings still looks good. As long as you're above this, EHang is completely fine. In fact, if you look at Magic Ribbon, still chilling above. It's 200-day moving average, it's 50-day moving average, and it's yearly 360-day, or rather, one sec, I always forget which ones I've got on. I've got 4. The blue one, I believe, is the yearly. Yeah, so yeah, 200-day moving average, exponential moving average, and 50 simple average above all of that, right? EHang, as long as you're above the bottom of this parallel channel, I'll be targeting eventually to the upside. And again, Chinese stock, I think Chinese stocks will do well over the coming years, so something to keep an eye on. Not interested. Not interested. I would be interested between 230 to 195. right? But when I looked at this, the move to 280 had already happened, so for now it's fine. Hopefully we get one drive down to like a macro bullish divergence, so on and so forth. But let's take a look. M&S looks like it's ready to go. Going to be making, if this goes towards 570, I'm going to make six figures on this one. So I've just been holding this for a while now. This has been a multi-year hold for me, right? But if it goes up here, this is going to be another six-figure trade for me for stocks. So it's just been so patient. Literally, you can see it's just been great. Stocks, right? Stocks is not going to take. It's not going to be like a simple move. So Tesla, insane. Look, the amount of times I said Tesla above this, above that B point, you're looking for a bam up. We're nearly there. Look, right? We're literally above the midpoint. Sooner than later, we're going to have had a 100% move from the last entry I gave on Tesla. Not even that long ago. We're talking June. We're talking July, right? Not that long ago at all. 100% move from then, right? Right now, you're sitting at 55% up since then. But yeah, Tesla to the upside. There's nothing I can do here now, right? It's like, there's no risk management here. I wouldn't get in here. It's what it is. It goes to the D point. Hopefully we get hopefully you get more chances in the future is what you're looking at. Otherwise, Tesla, send it to, 658 and higher. Rolls-Royce, this is the biggest win I've had in terms of stocks, right, in the recent years, because this has been absolutely insane. This is not something I called. Like I said, I don't call every single play I take. This one, I literally just told my IRL friends and my family and myself, I took this one. But the setup for this was absolutely insane. Insane, bro. Perfect deep godly. And again, to the same thing we talk about all the time, to a smiley face, right? 2. Look, all these aggressive selling, not being rewarded, right? You go down to something like the daily, look at the amount of aggressive selling that was going on at the retest of the 8-day-6, the deep godly, not rewarded, right? You have the smiley face come in, and after that smiley face, this thing went on an absolute tear, bro. Absolutely insane. If I turn this off once, and I turn this off as well, just literally straight market bids after market bids after market bids, bro, from the entry. Yeah, this was an insane win. So it's like I said, it's, you get wins like this in stocks as well, right? This has outperformed pretty much every altcoin there is. 1,609 since the 2022 lows. In fact, this has outperformed Bitcoin. No? Yeah, this has outperformed Bitcoin. So yeah. This is why I focus on stocks as well, right? And obviously, like, if you guys want, we can look at forex and we can look at commodities as well. But typically stocks and crypto, especially for buying spot, that's where it's at. Like, obviously for gold, you just buy solid gold if you want to buy spot. That's the way I do it, and that's what I do. Solid gold, solid silver, so on and so forth. But this was an insane play. Just looking at it for if I can ever, like, if anything comes up for this now, which makes me actually open up a Robinhood account so I can buy puts. I don't see anything like that yet, right? But after such an insane move up, I can't wait to catch the weakness on this one to the downside. Coinbase, I think this has way more leg up higher. Do I see a smiley face? Hang on. No, I don't. Not yet. No, not yet. That's not a smiley. Actually, it's a lopsided smiley. I don't know whether I'd call that a smiley face. I probably wouldn't have taken it, looking at it as a smiley face, right? That went a bit deep. Again, I wouldn't buy Coinbase here myself because of the risk to reward in terms of visible data is clearly lopsided to the downside, right? But the original entries for Coinbase were given like way back, right? You guys probably remember the 3x longs I had on this on BingX, right? PayPal, Coinbase, so on and so forth. Like, it was double digits, the entry, right? But obviously BingX delisted everything because they realized that probably had a lot of people who actually longed stocks at these lows. They probably would have gone bankrupt paying people out. So, right. BlackBerry, the next one, still looks good. Again, don't forget that the chart for BlackBerry is another one similar to Rivian, although I think Rivian looks better. BlackBerry, in terms of like the local compression, but BlackBerry is also another one where you've got a very easy, right? You just got to look at it and you got to realize the risk is so much greater if you're trying to short these at these levels, right? than rather than if you're trying to see, okay, well, how much higher can we go now? It's very much a low areas, right? So BlackBerry's got this on the challenge account. Herd, not interested in this here. Webull, let's take a look, because this is in the challenge account. So Webull, 3 different entries I gave on this one, right? Either close below the 2025 6-month buy zone mid for your first stop. The second one was close below these X structures. The third one was close below these last structures, right? So none of that has been triggered yet, right? So you haven't closed below the 6-month MACD buy zone mid for the most tight stop loss, let's say. You still have the 886, right? Hopefully we can put a smiley face in here. Actually, take a look at this. Left, head, right. So again, if you manage to put some sort of smiley face in here, you could start, doing something like that on Webull. But again, this is one of those ones where, for now, based on where we are, risk management wise, I'd rather favor looking to build positions to the upside than to the downside, right? Rivian, of course, still compressing, still a part of the China narrative. So I still think this will do well. How high can this go? No idea. I don't even know, right? But for now, just going to try and fill some gaps, so on and so forth, should yield about 80%, right? Anywhere between 50 to 80% is a target move on Rivian. You take some profits out whenever you feel happy if you get the move, and then just leave the rest either at break even or to ride long term, right? Because there's clearly been accumulation going on this since 2024, since we hit this low. So if you can validate that accumulation with a breakout retest, then the chart will look even better. Still got my alert set for this in case we go rate the mid. Nothing's happened yet. ClearSpark at the range highs. This is the reason I've not said enter yet, is because at the range highs, of course, until you flip that, there's no point entering. ENR, nothing much has happened. It's still hitting targets, flipping things into support. This looks like it could go higher. UPS, since the last time we talked about this, we have the X point of, what was this? This was the bat, was it not? Why have I not marked the actual bat down? One sec. Hang on. $451. And then we're talking about an 886 move right over here. So let me go. I thought I put it down last time. Apparently not. Okay, so this is your BAT 0.886. And of course, we also have the BAT 2.618 here somewhere, don't we? This was a beautiful recommendation you did last time, Jasper, because whatever structure builds here, this is where you pay attention, right? Because this is where the macro wave structures have completed. So we go here, put this down. This is your BAT 2.618. So there's your PRZ. And I believe, was this? No, this was not that's just the X point. That's the 1.0, so I can delete that for now. That's just the X. Here's your PRZ, right, for the BAT. And let me see, can I orient this to, like, you can orient this in different ways as well, right? I know you could do this and say that 886 is somewhere else. Can I go for a 618 is what I'm interested in? No, I couldn't. Okay, yeah, so what we have here is this. Sorry, not, no, yeah, that. We want to see a very nice reclaim here for UPS. If you can take that out and put a reclaim in, you are in the race. You're going to have a smiley face with a shift in structure, like change of character, and then a confirmed trend if you're going to flip it back into support. That is your ideal scenario. You do this, you would put a lot of money here if you wanted to get into UPS. You had some spare, right? You'd put a lot of money into UPS here, and you'd be targeting, of course, the framework, right? The 618, the 382, so on and so forth. So if we keep rejecting from here, you've hit a daily order block, you've hit a, weekly order block, weekly supply zone, however you look at this, right over here is where supply is, right? We can just do this. supply, what used to be a support in terms of PRZ, currently resistance, the 886. But you flip this into support, UPS absolutely sends. Right? Look at all the liquidity we have to take out on this one. Even if we don't break out, right, even from here to here is a nice move, right? That's a nice move for a stock, and then hopefully you get that breakout over there. But yes, UPS, really nice move on this one. Hopefully we get that trend shift to a reclaim at some point, right? And your targets, of course, are to the lowest point is there. And let me make it easy for you guys, right? Let's take away the extra stuff. Not everyone understands how the extra lines work, so we'll just make it simple and do this. Your first target is from where you currently are anyway, right? 40% away, and your second is 81. You get above that, 1.618 is at 327, which would put UPS to new highs. That is obviously like a pipe dream for now. So these are the two ones I'll be focusing on in the coming years. I'm going to say coming years. I don't know how quickly it can get there. Maybe a few months even, right? If the liquidity really unlocks. But yeah, the first target's here. If we get above, then we can talk about if we go into price discovery, maybe 327, right? But for now, let's focus on something that already has historical significance to it, which would be these levels here. But yeah, that's that. Wolf is a minor stock. I gave a few calls on that a while ago in Unity as well. Let's take a look. One sec, but let me just go through everything. Oklo, nothing much to do here. LLY, flip the middle of the heart line, you're going to the top, is what we said last time. BAYN, right, another one that looks decent. BAYN, right over here. You have a lot of completed structures. We just need structure to be on our side now, right? So you have a lot of completed wave structures. We need PA structure to be on our side now. Smiley faces, aggressive sellers not being rewarded, bullish divergences, so on and so forth, right? Just a range, reclaims of key levels. That's what we need. Otherwise, BAYN's another good one. AMC, I forgot who asked me to look at this. I think it was Gail. Yeah, literally breaking down from the low. Monthly buy zone mid is what we said it would hit if you rejected off this last time. We've done that now. Yeah, AMC doesn't look good or anything. BHP, this is one above the B points, right, which we seem to have actually retested on September. Above this box, you have a 41% move up. We talked about this last time. If you wanted to get into something, BHP was another one that was a possibility as well, right? To try and complete the BAM. We have ABTC, which is American Bitcoin Corps. One of the people in the server DM'd me to check this one out a little while ago. This is the range. Nothing much to do there, just the range trade, right? Above 441, you go to 9, above 914. So actually one you could try and take a look at here, especially if this gap is ever filled. There's your gap. If this gap is filled, this would be a nice bid, honestly, down over here. Low risk bid. Gold, right? Is it a surprise? People lining up, across continents to buy gold bullions at all-time highs. Nice little pullback on gold, right? Back below 4,000. Sorry for now. And like I was saying, is it a surprise Bitcoin is going? Because what did we say last time? When gold is ripping, Bitcoin tends to consolidate, chop around. When gold is consolidating, that's when Bitcoin tends to take the lead, right? Now that we're seeing gold consolidate, we can't be surprised Bitcoin is catching bids, right? Bitcoin is going up. We can't be surprised. Session point of control. That would have been a nice scalp right there. Okay. MSTR. If I'm not mistaken, does MSTR have an M shape? Is the question, right? Let me take a look. One sec. Hang on a minute here. 886 See, sometimes it's harder to notice, right? Because of things like this. Like this does not look like a wave structure, but I promise you it is. You just got to look close enough. I was thinking there's no way MicroStrategy, which is the whole reason Bitcoin's been hyped this cycle, dumps without a wave structure. Where's the 1.618? The 1.618 is right over here. I'll check. Well, I'll catch up with chat in a minute, guys. One sec. Nice. Okay. This is a deep crab, 0.886. There we go. The 2.618 for the deep crab is also here, so I'm just going to say plus 2.618. And the hop for a crab is the 2.0. So the hop level would be down over here. Should it so be inclined, this is the deep crab 2.0, and of course we have the 3.618 as well. Two PRZs, same wave structure, just different extensions. This is the deep crab 3.618, which is your max extension allowed, right? You know, if you cannot get above this area, you have a very nice way to look at it. You've got a daily buyer zone right over here. You've got your deep crab 0.886. You go and flip this back into support, you're chilling, right? MSTR can try and make a move back to the upside. We can put the targets down, and we can aim for the 382, the 618, so on and so forth. If you cannot get above this and you keep rejecting, then you might just have that deep hop hit of the wave structure before some sort of bottom comes in. You create a bigger range, right? Here we go, like like a liquidity rate to reclaim, so on and so forth, before you go higher. Two possibilities. What you want to see, if you want green, right, is you want to see that, right? Because the greener MicroStrategy gets, the better the ratio is for the Bitcoin holding. So the more Michael Saylor raises, the more Bitcoin he buys, right? Simple. The reason, if you're wondering, so why is Michael Saylor buying less and less Bitcoin? Of course, obviously, no one wants to top blast with big size, but also because as the stock stops going up, right, and Bitcoin's price keeps going up, I believe they call it like the MVRV or something like this. But anyway, the ratio is just not worth it, right? And the lower the ratio is, the closer to 1 it is, and God forbid it gets below 1, but the closer to 1 it is, the more and more basically even you're getting in terms of the risk off, right? In terms of like your returns on your risk. So if there is no returns on your risk, then all of a sudden it doesn't make sense for you to start putting big size in, right? Which is why the bids for MicroStrategy have been getting lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. But yeah, so that's MicroStrategy. We'll just spacebar a bit more. BBWI, Bath and Body Works at the lows. Nothing much to talk about here. Hopefully 23 hits. FRSH, someone from Twitter who watches YouTube reached out with these two. So I thought these looked interesting because he was saying I look like I'm into beat up stocks, which I'll take as a compliment. So fresh right here. Okay, this one very easy. If you want something to manage risks on, this is one. I don't know what it is. Freshworks things. I've not researched into that yet. But in terms of this stock, in terms of risk management, it doesn't get simpler. Even if you wanted to, like I said, you don't have to go all in. People look at this and think, oh, let me jump all in. You don't have to. Like your risk is literally like less than 10%. You could go 20, 40, 40. You could go 30 to 40% initial size. Leave the rest for if the breakout happens, if bullish structure comes in, so on and so forth, right? Or if you're okay with the 10% risk, then you can go all in if you want, right? But there's multiple ways to enter, is what I'm trying to say. Right, but definitely interesting one to keep your eye on. Freshworks Inc. first. The second one is GOSS. I really like the look of this one because just look at it. Right, just look at it. You've got accumulation, breakout, and now you've also, you might get a retest in at some point, right? So you could go and do this. You could go and do this. So this zone hopefully gets retested at some point. And if you want to bid locally, look no further than the weekly buy seller zone, because there's no guarantees of a retest. The last lower high that led to the lower low has been taken out. So now we just pay attention to where might a potential higher low come in, right? Hopefully somewhere around the 61866 sort of area. Somewhere around here would be nice. But there. If this pulls back and comes down towards this area, it's like, I feel like it's a low risk buy, right? If you do here, I'd keep things a bit more local. I definitely wouldn't go all in, because that's a nasty SFP. But if you get that drop to there, this could definitely be a interesting, like Gossamer Bio, it could be an interesting one to look for. Okay, so there's that, and I'm just going to mark this. Hang on, there's that. So you either get above and you bid, or you get a bit lower. If you want to start building a position here, be my guest. I can't tell you how to bid. Just make sure you've accounted for, like, you know, DCAs and size ups. Okay. Right. But yeah, so that's the last stock I wanted to go over. Let me go back to the chat. Prime, yeah. Let's look at a few more. There's a couple more crypto charts I wanted to quickly put your guys' attention to. One of them I found while space barring. Okay. One of them is, where is it? Because they look very similar to LTC in a way. One of them is Switch. It's called Switch, this one. The reason I'm looking at this one is because it's new, firstly, but secondly, take a look, right? Just look, harmonic after harmonic after harmonic. This thing respects harmonics very, very well. But it's not just that, right? It's not just the fact that it respects harmonics. Very simple, it's this. It's new, you're compressing, right? Doesn't matter how you look at it, you're compressing, whether it's log or it's linear, right? And you're not just compressing, it's the fact you're compressing with completed harmonic structures, right? So if this is now obviously a wave structure in the making, right? This butterfly hasn't completed yet, but should we rate the lows first before we go higher, then this butterfly to the hop of the butterfly, the 1.414 could be a possibility. You would go rate everything, right? If we don't, because obviously this is not completed yet, so that 1.272 is only valid if it hits, right? If we don't, then the fact that we've got two completed structures, I'll just be looking for either the low to hold or that breakout retest, and then look for that play to the upside. But just one for you guys to keep an eye on, right? Put your lines up, put your alerts on. Switch. It's a new coin. It's got nice structure. It's consolidating right now. It's at a range, but we don't know how long it's going to stay in that range for. It could break out, right? If we get that, you know, breakout retest, you could go and take these highs out, which can yield a very nice move. Even from the point of breakout retest, you know, you could be talking like a 70% move. So there's potential opportunity in this chart. Hence why I'm bringing it to your guys' attention. Looked at Zen. If you take a look at some of these coins that I haven't looked at in a while, what about CAS? I mean, everything's got taken. I feel like this thing bottoms soon. I'm not sure, but it's a gut feeling. Like this, CAS was it ran so hard in the bull run. Like this was one of the things that massively up. Like you want to see what we're talking about, 100,000% returns. For those of you not familiar with Casper, from the 2022 lows. So after such a huge sell-off, now here's the thing: do I trust that wick or not? I'm guessing that wick is due to Binance, right? Like it's just going to be following everything else, and that obviously stopped everyone from 2023 out. If we go with this, do we have any wave structure I can put on the chart? I probably do. It's just a matter of finding it, to be honest. For example, that's at 886 basically. It's not quite a 1.618, but you know. $1.618 would put us a bit lower. We can call that a front run. Yeah, if we're saying it was a liquidity dump, we can call that a front run. Yeah, there you go. I'd take that as a deep. I know it's not an official crab. The 1.618 wasn't hit, but it's the fact that this happened during a liquidity dump, right? So got a potential completed wave structure there, and you've also got, and if you go to the yearly, now that's where we're talking. Like, you want to see something diabolical? Take a look at this. Look what they did. They did not let you fill. Did not let you fill your 2022 high. How crazy is that? So greedy market makers, bro. Absolutely greedy. At least let some bids fill for some people. Imagine you had this high and you were like, oh, maybe we'll get a retest at some point. You set a bid, forget about it, thinking it's not going to hit, right? That wouldn't have been filled. Can you imagine? And you would have been how much? You would have been, bro, like less than 3% away from a generational bid getting filled on Casper. I'd be punching my screen if that was me, honestly. But anyway, let's go to previous cycles. So here is there. Are we surprised? What are we trying to hold? It's the mid, right? It's the mid. Let's do that. And let's do that. There we go. And for now, that's what we need to focus on. And of course, we do have a buyer zone over here too that we can put down. I'll just put the macro read down for now. There. So there's some key levels on Casper. If you get above 0.058168, very simple line in the sand, just put alerts up, just look at what happens. You get some sort of breakout retest on this, right? You know, you can see the ranges you can play, right? So even if you don't spot, even if you want to trade this with a leverage pair, because you don't want to hold this spot, let's say you just want to trade it, you've got like loads of opportunity here now. Because look, bottom of the range, right? It's as simple as that, bottom of the range. 0.07, 0.09, like you're talking, for risk, in terms of risk to reward, you're talking, you've got some nice moves from where you currently are. If you flip, you've got some really, really nice moves, and you can see I'm not exaggerating. And that's hardly any serious move at all, right? That's just to more lower highs. If you were to once again try and challenge the highs or something like this, like you obviously are talking even greater percentage moves. But Cass is another one it's worth keeping an eye on. KTA, keeping an eye on this. I used to be able to put the thingy charts on, the Uniswap charts on this, which had all the data. For some reason, I can't put that on anymore, right? So I have incomplete data, which always ticks me off because I can't trust what I put on my screen if I know I haven't even got full thingy on. But once again, I hate it when they make it so nice. But what we're looking at here, of course, is a potential smiley. So should this smiley hold, it's an easy bid here on KTA. You can literally just go and buy this on MEXC now, right? Easy bid here on KTA should it hold. That's that. So, let me take a look. Coin. Waiting for bear market and full forwards in here. The MNS was it was just one of those, like when I originally got in, it was simply just a directional bid, bro. Like the value the value sort of the risk to value ratio and the risk to reward ratio were just off the charts. It's a global brand, right? M&S. It's not like they're going out of business. They're always successful with what they do. So it was just completely mispriced at the lows, in my opinion, which is the whole reason I got in. With stocks, of course, you can also employ actual fundamental analysis, right? Way better than crypto, in my opinion, which is why which is another benefit of being in stocks outside of just crypto. But yeah, you take a look at this chart. Down at these lows, I just thought the price is way too low for this, right? For what the company does, the price was just way too low. And then of course you've got the 86 being hit, like TA wise, it was just worth it, you know. Okay, so the last one I'll look at is someone asked for COAI or something. One sec. Yeah, Adam, that's the one that forced me to close, bro. PayPal. The only one I've got open is Bitcoin. I've got forced me to close Tesla, forced me to close PayPal and Coinbase. Those are all generational bids. But that's the problem with like leverage, right? It's like if that was spot, I wouldn't be fussed, but it was leverage, so I should have just bought spot instead. But I did everything like isolated 2-3x's, and yeah, obviously that's a synthetic contract, so they can just force me out of it. Meta Planet. I that seems familiar. Yes, I looked at it, didn't I? COAI and MetaPlanet, and we're done for today. Okay, so COAI first. Okay, COAUSD. Okay, master list. I should have pretty much. Have I put this on? No, I haven't. Okay, let's look at CodeMong AI. Mexi, BitGet, Gate, Bitonix, KSEX, Femex, Bitmart, Binance, Bybit, OKEX. Anyone else? WeX, and let's see who has the most data. Okay, it's clearly not this one. These onwards. Okay, between Mexi and BitGet, I choose BitGet. Man, do I? No, I trade on Mexi, so I might as well do Mexi. No Gate. Gate used to be the GOAT, man, what a decline. Bitunix, don't know if few people use that in this server. What the fuck? But yeah, I'm not gonna look at the KSEX chart then. That's terrible. Wow, that's just gonna throw me off. Yeah, not this. Not this, because Mexi accounts for that. Mexi or who's this? Binance. Mexi or Binance? I'll choose Binance, obviously. So let's get rid of that. I choose Binance. I choose Binance. I choose Binance. If anyone wonders how do I go about putting things onto my chart, you see now it's quite tedious, but it's worth it in my opinion because you get the most data out of it, right? What the hell are you talking? October. Whatever. Okay, so let me add this to this, and then we can go here and we'll take a look. Let's look at linear first in case there is anything interesting in this one. It's a valid shark. At this point, it might just give us the 1.13 to be honest. I hope it does. It's a bit past the shark. A shark is up to a 2.24 if I'm not mistaken. It's a 1.618 to a 2.24. So the 2.24 of the shark is right here. Let's just go and pin a few of these down. One sec. Okay, so the 2.24, the 886 of the shark first is all the way up here. That's not relevant to us where we currently are. So the 2.24 of the shark is here, basically at the 0.1. So I'm going to go and put this over here. Okay, so technically a shark should not go past the 2.24, but in this case, given that the hop of the shark is up to a 1.13, I'm going to overlook the 2.24 and see where the 1.13 is, and if it lines up with the 2.618. So the 1.13 is here. It does not line up with the 2.618, but this would still be a shark. A bit steep on the extension, but a 1.13 would have been hit. So there is the shark 1.13. There we go. And if you wanted to, you could put the 2.618 on as well. Would it be much further? Yeah, I'm not going to put that on. Right, there we go. That's fine for now. What do you have? You have an order block right over here. That is what I see. So I'm going to leave that on. Do you know what? I'll put the 2.618 on because you've got Confluence. No point. There's no point. It's alright. That's already steep enough. Okay, so this to this, that's going to be harmonics. That's just your liquidity pocket. And next, let's take a look. 6 months anything, 4 months anything, 3 months anything. Yep. I mean, 3 months is giving you something. Not that it's worth anything right now. 2 months, nothing. Monthly, nothing. 2 weeks. Okay, we're going to look from the 2 weeks. So here is your Got your buyer zone from your previous 2 weeks here. That's fine. I wouldn't be doing anything with this where we currently are, can't lie. Just looking at this, right? You're below your 2 weeks, your weekly like key levels where buyers were in control, so on and so forth. You want to look at the daily. Here reach your daily buy zone, you're below the said level as well. So unless we go and hit like that 1.13, that order block or something like this, I would simply wait for a recapture of the area before I build a position on COAI. Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. Simple on that one. Okay, so that's COAI for those that asked. And last but not least, the last thing someone asked me to look at was a stock, I believe. A Metaplanet. We'll look at Metaplanet and then we're done for today. Okay, so let's go back to stocks. I could have sworn I actually put Metaplanet in here because I remember saying Metaplanet looks good. Is it Mplex? Metaplex? Metaplanet Inc. That's the one. Was it this one I looked at? I definitely looked at this. Hang on. Back down to a very interesting area. Why do I feel like I've done TA on this? No, but I can't have because Meta Planet. Let's try TSC as well. Yeah, that's way more data. There we go. Wait, no, hang on though. That's not. I don't know what that's all about. Right, we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go with this. OTC. 12 months. Let's take a look. We have 6 months. We have perfect retest. Right, there we go. Current cycle. Let's do the macro read, and then let's do the here. In terms of higher time frame, that's all the levels we need realistically. There we go. And on top of that, now we might actually have some sort of wave structure here, maybe. I mean, I can't find it on this chart though. But even without any wave structures, we don't. It's not like we need wave structures to get into something, right? We don't always need wave structures. Do I see anything? Trend is still down, of course. However, one could 20-40-40 this very, very easily. One could 20-40-40 this very, very easily, right? Because below this, you don't want to hold this asset for now. So this is what it is. Below this, I'll just look for 151 raid or get just buy whenever the raid's done, trap trade is there, and then you reclaim. But above this, you could get in slowly, right? You could get in slowly, like you don't have to go like maybe 50% here, 50% if you go here, or 50% here, 50% if you shift trend. And you could be targeting $6.53. That's a 2x from where we currently are, basically. Above that, you know, you've got 11. Yeah, not bad, bro. Metaplanet, not bad. I'm not finding any wave structures in the chart that looks like this, though. I can't even look at it without getting cross-eyed. But yeah, that's Metaplanet. But yeah, that's Metaplanet, bro. I'll keep an eye on this one in case I find like a valid entry model on a lower time frame or something. But yeah, that's that. Anyways, that is going to be it from me today, guys. That Marvel Technology. Oh, nice. Yeah, that looks good. Marvel. Wolf. Ooh, Wolf. Let's take a quick look at Wolf. It's not on this one. Wolf is in something else. but this is something I called a long time ago. It's a minor stock. Minor stocks are going to be, yeah, insane. This isn't my main port, right? So is it really a surprise we're getting this nice move up, minus? Look at that. Very, very easy. 451% up from original entry. First target, second target, third target. It's a minor stock, that's all, bro. Data processing, mining, TeraWulf, 451% up. But yeah, anyway, that's going to be it from me today. Yeah, no problem, guys. Thank you all for coming in. Hopefully you enjoyed that, Rudy. I know it's your first time in the stream, and I'll be doing a stream in John's server. Well, if enough people are interested, anyway, on Friday. Saturday, obviously, we have our consolidation session for core. After that, anyone who's only doing core is going to lose access to the server. People who are doing core plus advanced will carry on. We'll have the consolidations for advanced. We'll go over your questions. I'll go over my scalping logic, scalping mindset, scalping ideas, so on and so forth. I know many of you want to see that. And like I said, I'm not scalping right now, but once my schedule's cleared up, next year I'll be pivoting to actual going back to properly scalping myself as well, right? Right now my scalping accounts are all cleared out. I only have scalp to swing and swing, right? But we're doing that. There'll be new people joining the server because I'll be doing the next batch of group class. I wasn't going to do any more this year, but I'm going to be doing one more batch like November-ish, right? Mid to late November. Rudy's going to be part of that batch. Friday is going to be John's server. Saturday is going to be consolidation for core, bro. Friday is a maybe for now as well at John's server. I don't know how many people will be interested. So I'm not going to do it if there's like 5 or 6 people interested. There's no point. So consolidation for core is this Saturday. And if I have time on Sunday, we can get the scalping consolidation done on Sunday. If not, we'll get it done next week. Yeah. But yeah, we'll get it by next week. We'll get the scalping done. Yeah. So that's that. Any other questions you guys have, just like ping me in chat or something like this. Hopefully, we get this sort of choppy slash. Hopefully, it's not a choppy slash drawn out quarter four. Hopefully, October closes green. These are all things we'll keep an eye on. But like I said, also aren't fully out the woodworks yet. Keep an eye on Bitcoin dominance plus stablecoin dominance. But it's looking good, right? If Bitcoin, even after the liquidation event, if we close green, I mean, there's something to attest to the strength of the market right now, right? Crypto stocks have been going crazy. So, hopefully our stock plays print, our stocks, crypto plays print, and, we'll survive, we'll keep it pushing. And I'll see you guys on either Friday or Saturday. Yeah, I'll stop this recording here. I'll put it on YouTube for those that couldn't make it.